Chapter 1450. In Raven Queen's view, once the Yin-Yang realm martial artists started fighting, the situation would be completely chaotic. Even she might not be able to walk out of here alive. It was not worth it for the seventh fiend. Chi! An ear-piercing sound rang out. The azure dragon bypassed the blood-red scythe and bit off the seventh fiend's arm. Black and red blood splattered out. The seventh fiend was enraged. His ferocious face was filled with terrifying, murderous intent. At this moment, he was completely under the control of the heavenly demon bloodline and completely possessed. No one could stop his terrifying, murderous intent until he died. Kill! 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 A terrifying roar resounded in the sky. The seventh fiend pounced at Ling Xiao, completely disregarding his severed arm. The terrifying blood-red scythe slashed down at Ling Xiao's neck. Sword, come! The azure dragon turned back into a long sword, shining with a purple light. Die! This sword was like the most dazzling starlight in the starry sky. It instantly slashed across the seventh fiend's neck. A bloody scar was formed there. Then, driven by the immortal sword intent, the scar grew larger and larger. In the end, the arrogant head fell to the ground, dying with remaining grievances. Looking at the corpse, Ling Xiao sighed softly. You took so long to deal with a fifth Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Even if you die, you should be proud. When people heard this, they could not help being stunned. He actually said that. What did he mean? Could it be that he had never taken the seventh fiend seriously from the very beginning? Did he think that a fifth Grotto Heaven realm martial artist was not that difficult to deal with? This guy was really arrogant. However, when everyone looked at the seventh fiend's corpse, they all felt that Ling Xiao was arrogant. But his strength gave him the right to be arrogant. Many people thought that he had already used all his strength. But in fact, only Ling Xiao knew that he still had a trump card that he had not revealed yet. One had to know that he was only using a part of the mountain and river martial soul, the Scarlet Sun power, and it was already so terrifying. If he fully released the power of the mountain and river martial spirit, how many moves could the seventh malefic star withstand? The warriors of the Black Crow Empire had ugly expressions. The martial artists from the G family and the Permethos Celestial Island had ugly expressions on their faces. Although they could laugh at the death of the seventh fiend, they understood. The seventh malefic star was strong enough, but even such a strong guy was killed by Ling Xiao in the end. Just how terrifying was this Ling Xiao? Raven Queen glared at Ling Xiao. The first time she heard of Ling Xiao's name was during the battle in the northern desert. At that time, Ling Xiao seemed to be just a heaven realm martial artist, and his cultivation was not high, only around 7 stars heaven. In her eyes, he was simply an insignificant ant. However, this ant had completely ruined her meticulously laid plans. He had even killed her grand-tutor and captured her son alive. At that time, she knew that if Ling Xiao did not die sooner or later, he would be a disaster. But even so, she still didn't expect that only half a year had passed, and that insignificant ant from the past had actually become so terrifying. The seventh malefic star under her command had been killed so easily by this kid. This was simply unacceptable. Challenging someone above one's level was not considered special in the mystic world. However, under normal circumstances, it was normal for a genius martial artist to challenge an ordinary martial artist by 1 or even 2 levels. However, the seventh malefic star was no ordinary martial artist. He was a genius. Ling Xiao had killed the seventh malefic star so easily with his 4th Grotto Heaven realm cultivation. How terrifying was his combat strength! The experts had watched the entire battle from beginning to end. Ling Xiao had not used any special techniques to defeat the seventh malefic star. Ling Xiao was indeed more skilled in this aspect. Every strike and every move he made didn't waste a single bit of his inner energy. Every move he made was executed to the point of perfection. However, this alone would have been impossible for him to defeat the seventh malefic star. This was because when one's strength reached a certain level, all techniques would become meaningless. This was the principle of one strong person can defeat 10 skilled martial artists. Ling Xiao had defeated the seventh malefic star by relying on his own combat strength. In other words, although his cultivation was only at the fourth Grotto Heaven realm, the strength he could display had already surpassed the seventh malefic stars. Unfortunately, the seventh malefic star did not know this. The experts even had a feeling that Ling Xiao had broken through the realm of heaven and earth control that countless Yin-Yang realm martial artists had failed to achieve. This was an illusory realm that belonged to martial artists. It was very difficult to grasp and even more difficult to comprehend. And this realm was above the realm of unity of man and nature. Even Ji Furing, who was hailed as the #1 genius of the Sky Dragon and Divine Phoenix continent, had only comprehended unity of man and nature at the age of 17. However, Ling Xiao had reached a higher level. This guy's achievements and talent in martial arts were simply unmatched. The powerhouses looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated look in their eyes. If such a genius survived, he would definitely become a powerhouse in the future. Even the immortals of the Immortal Court continent would be very wary of him. Perhaps the human race would be revived, and the grand occasion of thousands of races would reappear. However, reality was very cruel. Many factions wanted to recruit such a genius. If they failed, they would definitely choose to kill him. Young hero, be careful! Just as Ling Xiao cut off the seventh malefic star's head and looked up at the Raven Queen, he suddenly heard the volcanic elder's cry of alarm. Ling Xiao instinctively dodged. Then he felt his body being heavily bombarded by something. Then his internal organs began to churn. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He controlled his body in the air and continued to retreat. At the same time, he looked behind him. He was shocked to find that the headless seventh malefic star had actually stood up. The blow just now had come from this guy's vicious punch. Fortunately, Ling Xiao's body was strong enough. Otherwise, this punch would have been enough to send him to the afterlife. At this time, Ling Xiao discovered something even more shocking. The headless seventh malefic star actually walked to where his head was, picked it up with both hands, and put it back on his neck. Black marks flickered on his neck. A moment later, his tightly shut eyes opened again. This kid has actually stimulated the heavenly demon bloodline to this extent. It seems that I worried for nothing. The Raven Queen also seemed a little surprised. The heavenly demon bloodline had a special characteristic. As long as it was fully stimulated and reached 100% perfect bloodline, one would have a perfect body. In this case, even if a martial artist lost an arm, a leg, or even a head, he would not die, unless the demon core condensed from the bloodline was destroyed. Chapter 1451. Although the seventh malefic star did not have an immortal body, how could an ordinary martial artist have such ability? Anyone would think that their opponent would die after their head was cut off and would definitely be careless. As a result, they would be ambushed. Someone like Ling Xiao was really unlucky. The seventh malefic star touched the wound on his neck that could no longer be completely healed. Although it was no longer bleeding, that ugly scar would remain forever. His eyes were filled with shocking killing intent. The heavenly demon bloodline has been perfectly awakened. Kid, I should thank you. If you hadn't killed me, I wouldn't have accidentally awakened the heavenly demon bloodline. The seventh malefic star coldly looked at Ling Xiao as his body continued to change. His originally huge, goat-like body did not change, but his skin became darker and a pair of huge black flesh wings rapidly formed on his back, and his height was 2 or 3 meters taller than before, like a towering mountain. If that punch landed, it would probably shatter the earth. Ah, power! I felt an endless amount of power. This kind of feeling is really too good. The seventh malefic star flapped his flesh wings and flew up, so excited that his entire body trembled. His body seemed to have an inexhaustible amount of energy. and in his eyes, Ling Xiao seemed to have become an ant not worth mentioning. His gaze became even more contemptuous than before. Ling Xiao looked indifferently at the seventh malefic star, his expression still indifferent. No one knew what he was thinking. Only Ling Xiao himself knew that this time he had encountered real trouble. After his bloodline was completely awakened, the seventh malefic star's cultivation instantly broke through to the sixth grotto heaven realm, and his combat strength soared to a terrifying level. Against such a person, with his current strength, if he only used ordinary means, it would be impossible for him to kill the other party. Do I have to use the Human King's power again? Ling Xiao sighed helplessly. There were 4 strands of the Human King's power left. If he used it again, there would only be 3 left. But he had to use it now. If he did not use the Human King's power, he would have to use the mountain river martial spirit. At that time, it would be even more troublesome. He gently twisted his neck. Ling Xiao released the 6th strand of the Human King's power in his body. In this way, his strength was much closer to the 7th malefic stars. But this was still not enough. Light sword domain. Fire dragon burning the heavens. Dark sword domain. Black dragon swallowing the heavens. Destructive light sword. Violent change. Dark slaughter soul extinguish. Light and darkness. Destruction and slaughter. Fire dragon and black dragon. At this moment, Ling Xiao was simply an amalgamation of contradictions. Half of his body was pure and holy, while the other half was extremely dark and evil. Roar! The huge fire dragon and black dragon let out shocking roars. Their huge eyes stared at the 7th fiend in the distance, staring at that monster. At the same time, a pair of wings appeared on Ling Xiao's back. Half of it was the moon, while the other half was the sun. The sun, moon wings. Ling Xiao's body was bathed in the baptism of all the elements. Lin. Tian have a domains Lin Tian domain. Is this brat courting death? To be inconsolable, she frowned. Hee, this is something you don't know. Back in the city of Sin, Ling Xiao had also unleashed 2 sword realms at the same time. It's just that it wasn't as terrifying as today. How long has it been since then? This little fella's strength has truly risen to such a terrifying level. Old Ancestor Changle said with a chuckle. He had always been interested in Ling Xiao. It was the same in the city of Sin, and it was still the same today. In his opinion, Ling Xiao's talent was definitely the best since ancient times. Even the sovereign personages of the past might not be able to compare to this brat. If this kid could truly grow up, then the everlasting joy Immortal Island would be able to develop even better with his help. The 2 divine dragons stared at the heavenly demon in the sky. The 3 pairs of eyes were filled with incomparable madness and bloodlust. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with a domineering aura that looked down on everything. With his strength exploding to such an extent, Ling Xiao had absolute confidence that he could kill the 7th malefic star. Didn't you activate the heavenly demon bloodline? Then I'll completely crush you. Do you still want to be resurrected after that? Die. At this moment, the 7th malefic star had no fear. There was only murderous intent in his eyes. With a roar from his mouth, his huge black wings flapped. In an instant, a violent wind raged. The waves on the black water lake churned, and the sand and stones on the ground flew. It was as if a monster had descended. Go. Ling Xiao pointed at the 7th malefic star with both hands. The fire dragon and the black dragon shot out at the same time. One was formed by the sword of light of destruction, while the other was formed by the sword of darkness of massacre. Both of them possessed extremely terrifying strength. Boom! The space between heaven and earth was suddenly torn apart and distorted. A terrifying collision occurred in the void. The 2 divine dragons and the heavenly demon collided. The resulting destructive power was simply terrifying. All the demonic beasts within a radius of a few hundred miles prostrated themselves on the ground. They trembled in fear and did not dare to escape. Ling Xiao's sword realm is really powerful. He didn't even flinch in the face of the seventh malefic star with the perfect bloodline. The people who supported Ling Xiao were all very excited. They had thought that after the seventh malefic star was resurrected, Ling Xiao would die. But now it seemed that it would not be so easy to kill Ling Xiao. "I want you to die, I want you to die." The seventh malefic star's roar grew louder and louder. His body was shrouded in black gas. Sacrifice. As his voice rang out, hundreds of warriors were swallowed by the seventh malefic star. Screams rang out one after another, but in the end there was no more sound. Those warriors had abandoned Ling Xiao because they did not believe in Ling Xiao. At this moment, they did not know how much regret they felt in their hearts. After the sacrifice, the seventh malefic star's strength instantly skyrocketed. It seemed as if he would break through the two divine dragons' obstruction. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. What kind of bullshit martial arts did the seventh malefic star cultivate? It was actually so cruel. Even if he did not sympathize with the warriors who had been sacrificed, this martial art still made him feel disgusted. "Since you want to kill me so much, I'll kill you first." Ling Xiao's cold voice rang out. The sun-moon divine wings on his back grew even larger. In the sky, the dazzling red sun seemed as if it would be pulled down. A large amount of light poured onto the wings without hesitation. "You can't kill me," the seventh malefic star sneered. "You'll know once you try." Ling Xiao sneered. Suddenly, he did something that many people did not expect. "Come at night." With this order, night fell, although it was only a change in the surrounding space of tens of meters. This strange situation once again made the mouths of countless martialists drop open. As night fell, Ling Xiao and the seventh malefic star were shrouded in darkness. Even someone as strong as Ji Ruolong could not see through the darkness. Chapter 1452. What is he trying to do? Doesn't he know that darkness is the heavenly demon bloodline's favorite color? The cultivators were shocked and confused by Ling Xiao's actions. In the next moment, the evil and sinister aura in the night became even more intense. A smug smile appeared on the Raven Queen's lips again, although she didn't understand why that stupid boy Ling Xiao would do such a stupid thing. No one but the seventh malefic could emit such a powerful and sinister aura. The terrifying aura caused many cultivators with lower cultivations to tremble and turn pale. Too evil, too terrifying. It was a kind of fear that could make people collapse. What a pity. That boy's brain suddenly short-circuited. How could he do such a stupid thing? The Ice Phoenix clan ancestor shook his head. In his opinion, it was stupid to deliberately create a curtain of darkness that could block out light while fighting a cultivator with a heavenly demon bloodline. There was no other explanation other than stupidity. However, Zhou Yin, who understood Ling Xiao better, had a different opinion. When Ling Xiao attacked with both swords, the black dragon, transformed from the dark demon sword, had a terrifying and sinister aura that didn't lose to the seventh malefics. He must have his reasons for doing so. However, not many people thought the same way as him. In particular, the cultivators of the Black Crow Empire all had contemptuous smiles on their faces. The seventh malefic had fully awakened his heavenly demon bloodline. Even cultivators with higher cultivations than him didn't dare to fight him in the dark. Therefore, they were waiting for Ling Xiao's corpse to be thrown out of the curtain of darkness. No, perhaps not even his bones would be left. The seventh malefic, who had fully transformed into a heavenly demon, would eat people. Roar! Suddenly, a loud and clear roar came from the curtain of darkness. Ripples appeared in the pitch-black night sky, as if it was about to collapse because of this. However, after a short while, the curtain of darkness returned to normal. However, everyone who heard that roar knew that it was the seventh malefic's roar. That kind of roar had been heard many times outside. However, this time there was a strong sense of anxiety and unease in the roar. There was even some anger and disbelief. What happened? Raven Queen was also stunned. She couldn't have misheard Seventh Fiend's voice, but she couldn't understand why he would let out such a terrified roar. The other warriors of the Black Crow Empire were also stunned. The confidence on their faces had completely turned into worry. The ancestor of the Ice Phoenix clan also looked at the night sky in astonishment. She tried to use her powerful soul power to penetrate it. Unfortunately, it was useless. That night was too strange. It was vast and boundless, like an endless universe. Once he released his spiritual strength, he would feel despair and powerlessness. Even an old man like him almost got into trouble. He pulled out his soul power in fear. This kid's martial spirit is quite remarkable. He mumbled to himself as his interest in Ling Xiao grew. At this moment, the terrifying and eerie aura reached its peak. People could even faintly see a huge black shadow in the night sky. No one could tell what it was because the shadow was too indistinct. However, the terrifying and eerie power contained within the shadow was absolutely real. This time it wasn't a roar but a miserable scream. The scream was filled with fear and pain, and even helplessness and desolation. It was as if he saw his tragic fate and was powerless to change it. The desolation made many people tremble. It sounds like Seventh Fiend's scream. What happened? I don't know. Did Seventh Fiend encounter some terrifying monster in there? What monster? There's someone else in there besides Ling Xiao? Does Ling Xiao also have some bloodline power? They were confused. Everyone was confused. The Black Raven Empire's martial artists had fallen into a state of shock and confusion. Raven Queen's expression became extremely ugly. Even an idiot would know what happened in the night sky. However, they didn't know what that terrifying night sky was made of. Even the soul power of an Yin-Yang realm warrior couldn't disperse it. Demon! Demon! You're the real demon. Don't kill me, The scream stopped abruptly. The night sky finally calmed down. The scene at this moment was extremely strange. Everyone stared at the pitch-black night sky, wanting to know what had happened. Night sky. Ling Xiao's voice sounded. The night sky gradually dispersed, and everyone finally saw the scene in the night sky. A youth sat there domineeringly, sitting on a corpse that was 7 or 8 meters tall. He was holding a purple, crystal-like object in his hand, and the corner of his mouth revealed a smile that was not a smile. That's a heavenly demon crystal. Yes, a heavenly demon crystal is also called a demon core. It's a purple crystal and emits powerful dark energy. It can't be wrong. Look at Seventh Fiend's chest. Everyone discovered that there was a huge hole in Seventh Fiend's chest, and the demon core inside had disappeared. Looking at Ling Xiao, everyone's eyes flashed, and their expressions were extremely complicated. Some were shocked, some were angry, some were happy, and some were terrified. At the last moment of his life, what did Seventh Fiend see? Why did he shout demon? This guy is too terrifying. I wouldn't want to provoke him even if you beat me to death. He actually pulled out the demon core of Seventh Fiend's fully awakened heavenly demon bloodline. Yes, I almost peed my pants. Looking at the domineering and somewhat sinister youth, many warriors felt a strong sense of dread and even fear in their hearts. They had no idea how Ling Xiao had killed Seventh Fiend, but the huge demon core in Ling Xiao's hand explained everything. Compared to Seventh Fiend, this guy was more like a demon. The warriors of the Black Crow Empire could not believe this was real. Raven Queen could not believe it either. If Ling Xiao had killed Seventh Fiend, who had not fully awakened his heavenly demon bloodline, they would have been shocked, but they could still accept it. But at this moment, they really could not accept it. Seventh Fiend, who had fully awakened his heavenly demon bloodline, was definitely not someone ordinary people could provoke. That kind of terror was enough to make many warriors on the Dragon Phoenix list tremble. But Ling Xiao had killed him, and from the looks of it, it was very easy. Other than a few insignificant wounds on his body, he was almost unharmed. Those who want to kill me better be prepared to bear the consequences. Ling Xiao didn't say anything, but his expression told everyone that if they wanted to kill him, they might die at his hands. This demon core is not bad. I'll reluctantly accept it. Ling Xiao was still sitting firmly on Seventh Fiend's head, holding the huge demon core in his hand. It looked like he was about to drool. Chapter 1453. To an outsider, this was still a corpse, but only Ling Xiao knew that the insides of this corpse had been completely destroyed by his sword energy. Not only did he want to take the Seventh Fiend's demon crystal, but he also wanted to completely destroy this guy's body. This way, it would be difficult for him to revive. Kacha! Ling Xiao actually opened his mouth and crushed the demon crystal, eating it bite by bite. Does he not want to live? That magic crystal contains an extremely terrifying dark energy. Unless that guy is also a demon. Everyone fell silent because they thought of the Seventh Fiend's cry before he died. Could this Ling Xiao really not be human at all, but a terrifying demon? Kacha! Kacha! The sound of chewing the demon crystal constantly rang out, and the air was filled with an extremely strange and oppressive aura. The martial artists of the Black Crow Empire were thoroughly enraged. Ling Xiao was provoking them. He had actually eaten the Seventh Fiend's demon crystal in front of them. How could they tolerate this? Mother, let me go kill him. Tomohiko Kuma shouted. Seeing Ling Xiao kill the Seventh Fiend, he seemed to recall the death of his master, Tamor Mutu. His anger once again accumulated. I'll go. A cold voice filled with killing intent rang out from behind Tomohiko Kuma. The Sixth Fiend. The Sixth Fiend was stronger than the Seventh Fiend. Even if the Seventh Fiend's heavenly demon bloodline was fully awakened, he was still inferior to the Sixth Fiend. This was something that the people of the Black Crow Empire were very clear about. Most of the martial artists of the entire Divine Phoenix continent were very clear about this. But very few people knew that the Sixth and Seventh Fiend were a pair of lovers. The Sixth Fiend was a woman. Although she always covered her face, those who were familiar with her knew that she liked the Seventh Fiend. The two of them had even had intimate relations. Ling Xiao had killed the Seventh Fiend, so how could she just sit by and watch? Your Majesty, that person can only be killed by me. Although your Highness's cultivation has advanced by leaps and bounds and is no longer inferior to mine, you know my relationship with the Seventh Fiend. Sixth Fiend spoke very slowly and methodically. He seemed to be a very calm person. Even I don't want to provoke this girl. She's very troublesome. Within the Permitha Immortal Islands formation, Zhongyu Huangquan frowned and said, in the past he had also wanted to obtain this woman, but in the end he had suffered a hidden loss. Although the sixth malefic star was definitely no match for him, this girl had a very uncomfortable ability. If things went wrong, he would be at a disadvantage. The Sixth Fiend also had a bloodline power, and it had perfectly awakened even earlier. She was a member of the Soul race. Her martial soul was perfectly compatible with her bloodline, allowing her to erupt with terrifying power. Ji Huangtian also frowned. If he didn't want to meet any enemies, then this sixth malefic was definitely one of them. Martialists who were proficient in soul martial arts were very difficult to deal with. Ling Xiao is really dead this time. The Sixth Fiend's strength might not be much stronger than the Seventh Fiend's on the surface, but her soul power is enough to send Ling Xiao to hell. Tomohiko Kuma glanced at the Sixth Fiend and nodded. All right, you go. You're more suitable than me. He knew that although his talent was stronger and his strength would likely surpass the sixth malignant star during the Dragon Phoenix election, the sixth malignant star's soul strength had always made him fearful. I'll allow it. The Raven Queen also nodded in agreement. Many thanks. The Sixth Fiend walked out of the formation and looked eerily at Ling Xiao. Eye technique. Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi eye, so he was very sensitive to secret techniques like eye techniques. It seemed like the Sixth Fiend was a skill-based martialist. It definitely wouldn't be easy to deal with her. However, It was still a little too early for him to submit and make him feel fear, just because of this. The teleportation array is about to be set up. I don't need to waste any more time with them. Ling Xiao knew very well that these so-called large factions were very shameless. If one wasn't a match for him, they would definitely take turns to fight him. Even if Ling Xiao was truly invincible, he would probably be exhausted to death by the tactic of taking turns to fight him. Therefore, he wouldn't foolishly continue to wait for a fight. As long as he escaped into the primeval forest, given his ability, those large factions wouldn't be able to do anything to him. The Black Crow Empire is really shameless. Why don't you all come at me together? That way, I won't have to deal with you one by one. These words sounded like arrogant clamor, but in fact, they were full of mockery. If the seventh fiend was killed, the sixth fiend would be sent out. If the sixth fiend was killed, would the fifth fiend be sent out as well, until Ling Xiao was killed? This kind of method was indeed despicable. Are you afraid? Raven Queen sneered. Haha, you don't have to provoke me. I'm not a fool. I can fight her, but you have to make a promise in front of everyone. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. You don't have the right to negotiate with me. Raven Queen said disdainfully. What if I want to negotiate with you? Do you really want to kill Ling Xiao by taking turns to fight him shamelessly like Ling Xiao said? Zhu Tianlin, the island master of Tianpeng Immortal Island, stood out and said, although Zhu Tianlin usually doesn't show his strength wouldn't lose to any of the island masters of 5 Immortal Island. Therefore, his words carried a lot of weight. Raven Queen could ignore Ling Xiao's words, but she had to consider Zhu Tianlin's words. Since Island Master Zhu has spoken, then tell me, what kind of promise do you want me to make? Raven Queen frowned and looked at Ling Xiao. It's very simple. If I defeat the sixth fiend, you're not allowed to attack me again. Otherwise, you will become a tortoise. Ling Xiao pointed to the sky and said with a smile, the mystic world was a place with laws. One must be very careful when making an oath, because once the oath is broken, the punishment will really come true. That's impossible. I can only promise that I will never attack you again on the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island. Raven Queen shook her head. Okay, as you wish. Ling Xiao didn't expect the Black Crow Empire to let him go so easily. He put forward such a condition, of course, just to ask for a sky-high price and wait for the other party to pay him back. You've done something meaningless. The sixth fiend slowly walked towards Ling Xiao. His pupils suddenly changed color. The original black color turned red, and a strange pattern appeared on his pupils. It looked like a 3-leaf clover, but it was a red 3-leaf clover, and it felt very dangerous. Oh, Ling Xiao asked with a smile, why do you say that? Because you must die, so no matter what promise Her Majesty makes to you, the result will be the same. That's not necessarily true. Ling Xiao smiled, as if there was nothing in this world that could worry him. Chapter 1454. Many people would be trembling in fear when facing an expert like the sixth malefic. However, Ling Xiao was actually able to laugh. Was he really not afraid at all? The sixth malefic was definitely stronger than the seventh malefic. Even in the Divine Phoenix Empire, where the rankings were set by the Emperor Lord, the rankings still had their own meaning. Furthermore, the rankings of the 7 malefic stars of the Black Crow Empire changed almost every month and were ranked according to their strength. You are very confident. Unfortunately, confidence can sometimes harm you. The sixth malefic smiled coldly as the red 3-leaf clover in his left eye revolved suddenly, and a strange spirit power suddenly attacked Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao felt extreme danger in an instant. His body flickered as he executed the swift light technique and moved several hundred meters in the direction of the transportation array. The martialists following him had also moved a long distance in that direction. Kid, are you afraid of that little girl's eye technique? The Yuan Venerate's voice rang out in Ling Xiao's mind. I'm not afraid, but it's very interesting. I want to study it. However, Master, has the transportation array been set up? Ling Xiao asked. It's ready and can be used at any time. However, the destination is the depths of the primitive forest. You have to be mentally prepared. There are very terrifying creatures residing in the depths of the primitive forest. I feel that they are even more terrifying than those island masters. The Yuan Venerate reminded him. Wouldn't that be like leaving the wolf's den and entering the tiger's mouth? Ling Xiao said bitterly, That's not necessarily true. That creature should be in a deep slumber. You are just a fly to it. As long as you don't disturb it, there shouldn't be any danger. The Yuan Venerate said, All right then. In that case, I'll choose the transportation array. Ling Xiao nodded. His conversation with the Yuan Venerate had been entirely through the use of his spirit power. Therefore, in the eyes of others, there was nothing suspicious. Ling Xiao wasn't actually afraid of the sixth malefic, as he was the nemesis of the sixth malefic. The sixth malefic was only proficient in spirit martial techniques. However, his soul power was even more powerful than what it looked like on the surface. However, once he killed the sixth malefic star, he would have to face more trouble. Therefore, the most important thing now was to escape from this damned place and deal with the primordial golden crow and primordial heavenly demon in his body. He had a feeling that as long as he could completely absorb and digest the two fighting spirits, his strength would improve by leaps and bounds. Raven Queen, your sixth bane is actually from the soul race. This soul martial art is strange and unfathomable. It's incomparably powerful. If you're not careful, you might fall for it. Don't you think you're making a mountain out of a molehill by asking her to deal with Ling Xiao? Zhu Tianlin said with a smile. On the surface, he was praising the sixth jinx, but in fact, he was secretly reminding Ling Xiao how to guard against this sixth jinx. However, the sixth malefic star had yet to display the true power of his bloodline and martial soul. Zhu Tianlin couldn't even warn him. Island Master Zhu, there's no need for you to waste your time. Even if you know about soul martial arts, it's still hard to guard against them. That's why it's so scary. Raven Queen sneered disdainfully. Ling Xiao cupped his fists towards Zhu Tianlin and said, Island Master Zhu, although I don't know who your daughter is, I still have to thank Island Master Zhu. Zhu Tianlin said that Ling Xiao had saved his daughter. However, Ling Xiao had saved more than just one or two girls. How could he remember them so clearly? Perhaps it was just a slight effort, but in Zhu Tianlin's eyes, it was a life-saving grace. Today he had specially come to help Ling Xiao out of his predicament. He could be considered repaying the favor. This person wasn't bad. Ling Xiao, do you dare to look into my eyes? The sixth malefic star said with a smile like a flower. At this moment, she had taken off her veil, revealing her beautiful face. Coupled with the influence of her powerful soul power, many martial artists who didn't have strong wills were dazed. So what if I look at you? Are you going to eat me? Ling Xiao naturally knew what the sixth malefic star wanted to do. This woman's technique was terrifying. In reality, she was a very ugly woman. However, due to the influence of her soul power, those who saw her would think that she had a peerless face. Everyone saw the sixth malefic star differently. They all saw the most perfect face in their hearts. Of course, if one soul power was stronger than the sixth malefic star, they wouldn't be affected. Those Yin-Yang realm experts wouldn't be affected. Neither would Ji Huangtian. Zhongyu Huangquan almost vomited. He had fallen for this woman's trick before. He thought that she had a peerless face and was the most perfect woman in his heart. That was why he pursued her. Today his cultivation had increased, and his soul power had also increased. Only now did he realize that the woman he had pursued before was actually so ugly. He didn't feel good at all. Of course, Ling Xiao wasn't affected either. In terms of soul power, even those Yin-Yang realm experts might not be able to suppress him, let alone the sixth malefic star. Ling Xiao stared at the sixth malefic star. His face was still indifferent without any change in expression. The sixth malefic star was clearly stunned. Then, her face twitched violently. She sneered. I didn't expect your will to be so firm. You aren't affected by my soul power. However, since you've seen my true face, you deserve to die even more. Haha, I deserve to die just because I see your face. Then why don't you kill Ji Huangtian, Zhongyu Huangquan, and those Yinyang realm experts? Ling Xiao said disdainfully, bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Is that your style? I'm bullying you because you're weak. So what? The sixth malefic star sneered and walked towards Ling Xiao. The strange aura around her was clearly getting stronger. As expected of the soul race, her soul power is really strong. Although Ling Xiao's will is firm, he's still not her match. Zhou Yun began to worry. After all, he had never seen Ling Xiao fight a soul race cultivator. Thus, he was still doubtful whether Ling Xiao could defeat the sixth malefic star. At this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly turned and fled. Sixth malefic star, if you want revenge, catch me first. The cultivators following behind Ling Xiao also turned around and followed him into the distance. Do you think you can escape? A bunch of idiots. Ji Ruolong sneered. The experts of the Ji family had set up powerful formations in a 10-kilometer radius. Moreover, there were experts guarding them. It would be strange if they could escape. The other Yinyang realm experts naturally knew this, so they didn't order their subordinates to give chase. Only the sixth malefic star followed. Everyone says that Ling Xiao is very smart, but in my opinion he's a complete idiot. Ji Ying's father sneered. Haha, he's not stupid. He's just scared. This is called panicking and not choosing a path. Raven Queen also laughed. She felt that Ling Xiao was panicking, frightened by the sixth malefic star's powerful soul secret technique. Chapter 1455. The Raven Queen was very satisfied with Ling Xiao's reaction. Because Ling Xiao had run away, it meant that he was indeed afraid and did not dare to fight with the sixth malefic star. Don't be so sure. If you underestimate him, you'll be slapped in the face. The Changle ancestor chuckled, even though he did not know why Ling Xiao did this. But when they were in the City of Sin, Ling Xiao's actions had always surprised him. He believed that this time it would definitely give him a surprise and give others a shock. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao and the others, who were charging at the front, suddenly disappeared. Even the sixth malefic star disappeared at the same time. What's going on? Ji Ruolong's face darkened. He did not expect this at all. Someone immediately went to check. After a while, he came back and reported, Island Master, something bad has happened. Someone used our array and set up a new teleportation array. After they were teleported over, the teleportation array lost its effect. How could this be? Everyone was dumbfounded. Could it be that Ling Xiao had helpers? Why didn't they notice? Ha ha, I was right, wasn't I? You people will be slapped in the face if you underestimate Ling Xiao. I heard that Ling Xiao was already good at all kinds of arrays when he was in the Yuehua school. You want to trap him with arrays? What a joke! The Changle ancestor laughed proudly. Ji Ruolong, the Raven Queen, and to be inconsolable, all looked gloomy. Although they wanted to refute, they could not find any reason to do so. They had indeed been tricked by Ling Xiao. This was especially true for Ji Ruolong. He had simply suffered a double loss. He was an idiot to the extreme. Do you know where they went? Ji Ruolong asked. According to the teleportation array, they should be in the depths of the forest where that guy lives. That person hurriedly reported. What? Ji Ruolong sucked in a breath of cold air. Their Ji family had wanted to occupy this primitive forest many times and use it as a training ground for their Ji family disciples. However, every time they reached the depths, they would be chased out. Furthermore, they suffered heavy losses. Even if Yin-Yang realm experts participated, it was useless. There was a terrifying fellow residing there, a fellow that absolutely could not be provoked. Obviously, The other Yin realm experts also knew about this, so their expressions were somewhat complicated. Ling Xiao hid in the primitive forest. If he did not provoke that guy, he would not be in danger, but they could not go in because if they fought inside, it would be troublesome. Your Majesty, are we not going to chase after them? The warrior from the Black Crow Empire asked. There's no need. Didn't the 6th malefic star follow them in? It's not like you don't know her strength. Just wait. That Ling Xiao will be brought out as a corpse by her. Raven Queen shook her head and said, the 6th malefic star was from the Soul Clan and specialized in soul martial arts. During battle, she could kill her opponent silently, so the chances of alerting the terrifying existence was not high. At this moment, Raven Queen was not worried that the 6th malefic star could not kill Ling Xiao. Instead, she was only worried that the 6th malefic star would anger the overlord in the primitive forest. Haha, since Ling Xiao has escaped into the primitive forest and is being chased by the Black Crow Empire's 6th malefic star, we can't just stay here and do nothing. Since so many people are here, shouldn't we talk about the immemorial divine demon and immemorial golden crow? To be inconsolable suddenly smiled and said, compared to killing Ling Xiao, she was more concerned about this matter. Ji Ruolong frowned and said, the people from the Blackwater Fairy Island are not here yet. What's the hurry? Of everyone present. Only he knew that the immemorial divine demon and immemorial golden crow should have been taken away by Ling Xiao through some means. But he did not want to say it, because if he did, there would be many people fighting with him. Later, when the 6th malefic star killed Ling Xiao and brought the corpse out, he would think of a way to get his hands on Ling Xiao's corpse. Then let's wait a little longer. To be inconsolable frowned and did not want to force it. After all, this was the Sacred Dynasty's island, the territory of the Ji family. If the Ji family was really anxious, they would do something desperate and no one would have an easy time. Ji Mengmeng looked at the pitch-black primitive forest and was worried. Could Ling Xiao defeat the 6th malefic star? That girl is so beautiful and so powerful. Why am I so useless? Since birth, Ji Mengmeng had been protected by her brother, so she rarely thought about cultivation. But at this moment she had an epiphany. She understood that without strength there was nothing. She swore that when she returned, she would cultivate desperately to protect herself and her brother. She would also be able to save the people she wanted to save. At this time, Ling Xiao and the others had already entered the depths of the primitive forest. Run for your lives. Remember, there is a powerful monster in this forest. Do not provoke it. Ling Xiao said to the warriors, following him. What about you, young hero Ling? I will stay and destroy the 6th malefic star. Otherwise, there will be no peace. Ling Xiao looked not far away and saw the 6th malefic star's figure drifting over. Words cannot express my gratitude. After we leave here, we will go to the Heavenly Dragon Continent and join the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. Goodbye. These warriors did not belong to any sect. They were wandering warriors. Today, Ling Xiao had saved them. They were grateful for Ling Xiao's magnanimity and decided to join the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. Although they did not seem to have much power to resist the experts of the major factions. However, among these 300 people, there were several Grotto Heaven Realm warriors and a group of Celestial Realm warriors. The 2 elders of Huashan would definitely be the mainstay of the Heavenly Dynasty Empire. After all, the Heavenly Dynasty Empire's foundation was too weak. It would take too long to cultivate new warriors. With these people joining, they would naturally become stronger in a short time and help stabilize the Heavenly Dynasty's rule on the Heavenly Dragon Continent. Goodbye. Ling Xiao did not refute, nor did he have a reason to. On the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the Heavenly Dynasty Empire not only had to face the counterattack of the Sea Race at any time, but also had to deal with those sects and factions that were unconvinced of the Heavenly Dynasty Empire and wanted to overthrow it. It was undoubtedly excellent to have the help of these experts. The 6th malefic star did not stop everyone from leaving. She only had one target, and that was Ling Xiao. Can you escape? The sixth malefic star said indifferently, "I have already escaped." Ling Xiao also said indifferently, "Escaped? That's right. I chose to escape to avoid those Yin-Yang realm warriors. Do you think I am afraid of you?" Ling Xiao said with a chuckle, "You are really annoying. There are so many beasts fighting in the forest. I can control them at will. Can you really defeat my soul secret technique?" The sixth malefic star looked at Ling Xiao with contempt. This person's words could always suffocate people to death. It was very infuriating. She wanted to tear this guy's mouth apart and make him unable to speak. "You can try." Ling Xiao smiled. From the moment he faced the sixth malefic star until now, there was no fear in his eyes. Chapter 1456. From the beginning to the end, Ling Xiao was confident that he could defeat the sixth jinx. What he said just now was the truth. There was no need for him to run when facing the sixth jinx alone. "You didn't have to die, but you insisted on coming with us." As Ling Xiao spoke, his left eye gradually changed. The originally pitch-black pupil transformed into the Taiji eye. The black and white were so distinct that it seemed to contain the essence of the entire mystic world. This was a cold eye. It was an eye that could see through any mystery. All this time, Ling Xiao had only used the Taiji eye to execute soul judgment. He had never truly unleashed the full power of the Taiji eye. There was no need for that. However, today he was facing the sixth jinx, Espirita's woman. He planned to defeat her with his powerful soul power. The cold eyes were black like the deep night and white like the bright day. Night and day, light and darkness, they perfectly matched at this moment. Ling Xiao seemed to have become a different person. All the moves of the light and shadow profundities had been raised to a higher level. The power of light and shadow had also become stronger. This was the enhancement of the Taiji eye and his soul power. The sixth jinx looked at the eye and felt a sense of fear from the bottom of her heart. In her shock, her eyes shone with an even more powerful and strange light. She had the bloodline of the Spiritas, so she had awakened the three-leaf demonic eyes. Four-leaf demonic eyes were the strongest in this eye technique. Most Spiritas could only awaken 1 or 2 leaves. However, she had awakened 3 leaves. This was enough to show how talented she was. However, at this moment, her confidence was shaken when facing Ling Xiao. She released a terrifying demonic light in an attempt to disturb Ling Xiao's mind. However, she gave up after a moment. Her demonic light couldn't affect Ling Xiao's mind at all. It didn't even make Ling Xiao feel a trace of fear. Instead, when she saw the Taiji eye, she felt as though she was being sucked in. Hence, she hurriedly retracted her demonic light. "I didn't expect you to have an eye technique as well. It's a pity that you only have 1 eye. Can it compare to my 2 eyes? The sixth fiend did his best to calm himself down. His tri-leaf demon eyes flashed, and he suddenly closed in on Ling Xiao. Although the speed was very fast, Ling Xiao felt that he should have no problem dodging this attack. He lightly moved his feet and easily dodged the sixth fiend's attack. But at that moment, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. A very strong sense of danger suddenly came over him. The Taiji eye spun, and Ling Xiao caught sight of a black shadow. Relying on his innate intuition, he once again forcefully moved his body. It was this slight movement that saved his life. A cold light flashed, and Ling Xiao's right hand was directly cut off. Although the bleeding had stopped in an instant, the intense pain almost made him cry out. What happened? Ling Xiao's expression didn't change, but he was very confused. He had clearly dodged the sixth fiend's attack, but he was still injured, and his right hand was directly cut off. His body hadn't been injured like this in a long time. Although this kind of injury wasn't a problem for him, who had cultivated the 9 transformation golden body technique, and he could recover quickly. But if he couldn't figure out how the sixth fiend had injured him, he would probably be injured again and again. He picked up his hand and reattached it to his wrist. A moment later, his meridians were reconnected, and his injury began to heal faster. But right now, he probably wouldn't be able to use his right hand for a day or two. He sighed and put his right hand behind his back. It seems that you only know how to talk big. I thought you were really capable. The sixth fiend looked at Ling Xiao's unusable right hand and sneered. You seem to have forgotten one thing. You must have used up a lot of energy in the battle with the seventh fiend just now. Even if you could fight with me for a period of time at your peak, but now you don't have the qualifications to compete with me at all. Next time, your left hand will be cut off. Let's see how you fight. A smug smile appeared on the sixth fiend's face. At first, she had been intimidated by Ling Xiao's terrifying Tai Chi eye, but after fighting for a while, she realized that she had been overthinking things. Perhaps her opponent wasn't as strong as she thought. Ling Xiao didn't say anything. He just looked at the sixth fiend indifferently, as if losing his right hand was meaningless to him. Break! The sixth fiend once again approached Ling Xiao. But this time, Ling Xiao chose to speed up and escape. Before he figured out his opponent's moves, he wouldn't be stupid enough to stand there and fight to the death. After all, he was the one at a disadvantage. The sixth fiend was much stronger than the seventh fiend. Combined with his terrifying eye techniques, he was even more ferocious. Ling Xiao had been fighting for a long time before this. Not only had he fought the seventh fiend, but he'd also fought Nan Sha, Jiying, and the others. He'd used the Human King's power twice in a row. As a result, he had used up a lot of energy. Facing the sixth fiend, he felt that he might have to use all his trump cards today. But before that, he had to figure out his opponent's moves. Running? Let's see where you can run to. The sixth fiend was hot on his heels, although she wasn't as fast as Ling Xiao. But she was full of energy and internal energy. It was only a matter of time before she caught up to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was getting slower and slower. What are you thinking? Suddenly, Ling Xiao, who was rushing forward, turned around and laughed. A shadow all pierced through the air. Speed, timing, and accuracy were all almost perfect. Under normal circumstances, the sixth fiend shouldn't have been able to dodge this attack. But strangely, the shadow all had missed. In that instant, Ling Xiao saw the sixth fiend's body teleport. This guy can teleport? Impossible. If he really could, he wouldn't be so obediently chasing after me. What's going on? Ling Xiao sped up again. This attack was only a test because he wanted to figure out the sixth fiend's situation. But he didn't know that this attack had almost scared the sixth fiend out of her wits. Damn guy, he really is cunning. It seems that I have to be careful when chasing after him. Fortunately, I have that kind of martial soul. Otherwise, even if I didn't die, I would be seriously injured. Muttering to herself, the sixth fiend actually slowed down, keeping a safe distance from Ling Xiao. Strange, he dodged so easily. Why is he afraid of my attack? Ling Xiao turned around to take a look, feeling even more confused. One more time. A wicked smile appeared on Ling Xiao's lips. A black shadow quickly approached the sixth fiend under the cover of a tree. Void Shadow Crocodile. This was the best move for a sneak attack. Teleportation again. Chapter 1457. When the Void Shadow Crocodile was about to bite the sixth Bane's shadow, the sixth Bane's body suddenly changed position. At the same time, the shadow also changed at the same time. Hee, I see. This time, Ling Xiao finally saw how the sixth Bane had dodged. It was not teleportation at all. There was something fishy about it. Although he already knew the sixth Bane's martial soul, Ling Xiao still pretended to run for his life and rushed forward. Understanding the opponent was only the first step. The next problem was how to solve the problem. After thinking about it, Ling Xiao still felt that with his current strength, unless he used the mountain and river martial soul, it would be really difficult to kill the sixth Bane. However, the mountain and river martial soul was too loud. He had to run further, hoping that the people from the other forces would not know. No matter if they were going to kill him or help him, once they knew that he had the mountain and river martial soul, they would be greedy. He did not have high expectations of human nature. After dodging Ling Zhao's attacks twice, the sixth bane seemed to be calmer. Her martial soul was unique. When combined with her eye technique, it was even more unpredictable. If Ling Zhao wanted to fight with her, he really had no chance of winning. "I'd like to see how long you can run." The sixth bane sneered. Her three-leaf demonic eyes could see that Ling Zhao's internal force had been exhausted. Although he could still fight, he could not last long. Coincidentally, she had heard from the queen that in the depths of the primitive forest of the sacred dynasty's fairy island, there was an overlord. Although it was a beast, its strength was so strong that even the Yin-Yang realm experts had to avoid it. With her three-leaf demonic eyes, she wanted to see if she could use her eye technique to take this powerful monster for herself. After all, although beasts were powerful, they were not very intelligent. In this case, her eye technique could restrain them. Thinking of this, the sixth bane kept her eyes fixed on Ling Zhao, keeping a suitable distance. Although she believed that she would win, she also knew that Ling Zhao was extremely cunning. She had to be careful of his sneak attacks. Otherwise, he would still fail miserably. As long as she remained calm and careful, she would definitely be able to kill Ling Zhao and bring his corpse to her dead boyfriend. Ling Zhao didn't know what the sixth fiend was thinking, and he didn't need to know, because he was acting according to his plan, setting up a death trap for the pitiful sixth malefic. Unfortunately, the sixth malefic was still thinking of winning this battle. On the way, Ling Zhao secretly swallowed a pill. In terms of quantity and quality of spirit pills, it was not that Ling Zhao was arrogant, but at the very least, within the divine Phoenix continent, there was no one who could compare to him. Even those aristocratic families and clans couldn't compare to him. After all, no matter how powerful they were, they still needed good alchemists. In the entire divine Phoenix continent, the current most outstanding pharmacist was Ling Zhao. In terms of refining medicinal pills, even the Medicine King's son, Bu, could not surpass him. After all, Ling Zhao had the backing of an alchemy master who had once stood proudly in the immortal court, a Yuan Venerate. He had indeed consumed a lot of energy, but no matter how much he had consumed, it would only be a matter of 2 or 3 pills. How could a poor child like the sixth fiend understand the advantages of a nouveau riche like him? So what if he bullied him for not having any pills? Almost there. After releasing his spirit power and sensing the large factions in the distance, Ling Zhao discovered that they hadn't moved. At this distance, even if he used his mountain river martial soul, there shouldn't be any problems. As he thought about this, he suddenly came to a stop. His feet were in the air as he turned back to look at the sixth fiend. "You can't escape any more, right?" The sixth fiend was stunned for a moment before he slammed on the brakes. However, a smug look appeared on his face in an instant. In her opinion, Ling Zhao's internal force had already been exhausted, so he shouldn't be able to escape. However, when she saw Ling Zhao's half-smile and his unfathomable Taiji eyes, she felt very uncomfortable. Yes, it's annoying. There's a fly buzzing around behind me. I have to kill it first. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. The two of them had already entered the depths of the primeval forest. In the gloomy forest, they could sense the aura of wild beasts. They could even hear the terrifying sound of breathing. "You have a glib tongue. Unfortunately, you still don't understand why I dared to chase you all the way here. It's because I have absolute confidence in my victory." The sixth fiend was no longer angry, as she knew that Ling Zhao was a good talker who was especially good at making people angry. Once someone got angry, their mind would be in a mess. Once they were in a mess, they would lose their composure. "Oh, is your so-called confidence referring to your martial spirit?" Ling Zhao asked rhetorically. "That's right, but not entirely. It's a pity that you still haven't figured out what my martial soul is. However, I will let you know before you die." The sixth fiend smiled coldly, but she still didn't release her martial soul. Of course, she might have already released it, but Ling Zhao couldn't see it. 3 leaf demonic eyes. Capture! The sixth fiend didn't release her martial soul, but used her eye technique. This demonic light didn't shoot towards Ling Xiao, but towards a powerful, third, grotto heaven, realm devil, porcupine in the bushes. Buzz! A strange sound was heard. Ling Xiao turned around and saw the devil porcupine's terrifying body darting out of the bushes. This devil porcupine looked very ferocious. It looked 70% like a porcupine and 30% like a demon. It was 2 meters tall and 4 to 5 meters long. Upon closer inspection, the spikes on its back looked like poisonous snakes. It also had terrifying fangs that could bite anything. Humph, humph! The devil porcupine let out an unwilling cry, as if it was resisting something. However, after a while, it stopped moving and its eyes became blurry. The 3-leaf demonic eyes is indeed extraordinary. It can actually control such a powerful demonic beast. Ling Xiao also had a soul-controlling secret technique, and he had used it before. Its effect was similar to the 3-leaf demonic eyes. However, it was an unorthodox technique that didn't help him increase his strength, so he didn't use it again. However, it was clear that the sixth fiend had cultivated the 3-leaf demonic eyes to the extreme. Ling Xiao, do you now understand why I was so sure that I could kill you? Just by using my eye technique, I was able to obtain such a powerful helper. What about you? You're just a laughable abandoned hero. The sixth fiend looked at Ling Xiao with a mocking smile, while controlling the powerful grotto heaven realm devil porcupine. This guy was still able to maintain his body's normal state. This was simply too powerful. It's indeed very powerful, but it's not surprising that it's an unorthodox technique. I've already mastered this secret technique when I was in the heaven realm. Ling Xiao said indifferently, compared to this, I'm more interested in your martial soul. If I'm not wrong, it should be the Gemini martial soul, right? Chapter 1458. You actually recognized my martial spirit. The sixth malefic star was very surprised. Her Gemini martial spirit had never been exposed in front of anyone. Even the Raven Queen did not know about it, due to the special nature of the Gemini martial spirit. Even if she used it, no one would know. This made the sixth malefic star's martial spirit mysterious. Perhaps it was this mysterious feeling that made her stand out among the young warriors of the Black Crow Empire. There's nothing to be surprised about. The Gemini martial spirit is said to be transformed from the Gemini demonic fish in the Archean era. It can be considered an Archean martial spirit. Ling Xiao said indifferently, since you know that the Gemini martial spirit is an Archean martial spirit, how dare you look down on it? The sixth malefic star said coldly, the world places too much importance on the Archean martial spirit. In fact, among the Archean martial spirits, except for a few special martial spirits, the rest are no different from modern awakened martial spirits. Ling Xiao said disdainfully, if you had the Archean dragon spirit, the 12 human celestial martial spirit, or the human king's mountain river martial spirit, I would naturally think highly of you. However, the Gemini martial spirit is not in this category. What a big tone! The sixth malefic star snorted and said, do you really understand the Gemini martial spirit? What don't I understand? The Gemini martial spirit is nothing more than a person having 2 bodies. This martial spirit allows a warrior to have 2 real bodies. This is why you were able to dodge my attack before. Ling Xiao said indifferently, in fact, I have already attacked you. However, to deal with a Gemini martial spirit, I have to attack both real bodies at the same time. Otherwise, it will be ineffective. However, although this martial spirit is fancy, it has a major weakness. That is, only one of the 2 real bodies can fight. When one of them is fighting, the other one can only watch. Stupid. Although the sixth malefic star said this, she was very shocked. Ling Xiao's judgment of the Gemini martial spirit was almost completely correct. Fortunately, she still had a trump card that could allow the Gemini martial spirit to gain new abilities. Otherwise, it would be a failure. That was what she thought. But Ling Xiao's next words directly crushed her psychological defenses. You might think that by controlling those demonic beasts with your three-leaf demonic eyes, you can give your other body the ability to fight. This is something I don't know, right? What? The sixth malefic star looked at Ling Xiao in shock. Who are you? How do you know so much? That's not important anymore. You are indeed a genius. You have the tri-leaf demonic pupils and your Gemini martial spirit. Unfortunately, you met me. Ling Xiao shook his head. Humph, you dare to mock my twin martial spirits. Then what is your martial spirit? What right does a cultivator who doesn't even dare to release his own martial soul have to make irresponsible remarks about others' martial souls? The sixth malefic star snorted coldly, and the controlled devil porcupine fell to the ground. In the darkness, a faintly discernible figure appeared. That figure's appearance was exactly the same as the sixth malefic star. Furthermore, it appeared to be a real person and not a clone. Ordinary cultivators will have a headache if they meet you. Seeing that the figure gradually become real, as if it was a clone of the sixth malefic star, Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh. This woman from the Soul Clan had really used her Gemini martial spirit to life. Facing one sixth malefic star was already a headache. Facing two of them now was even more troublesome. Although one of them was only at the third Grotto Heaven realm, he could use all the abilities of the sixth malefic star except for his martial spirit, including the tri-leaf demonic eyes. He could also use the abilities of the devil porcupine at the same time. This was simply cheating. Are you afraid now? Unfortunately, it's too late. The two sixth malefic stars spoke at the same time. The tri-leaf demonic eyes of their 4 eyes almost shot out demonic light at the same time. Afraid? Don't think that you are the only one who has a martial spirit. Ling Xiao smiled. A red sun and a bright moon slowly rose behind him. This is your martial spirit? Don't treat others as fools. A celestial martial spirit is not something a lowly human like you can have. You created some illusions to deceive and scare me. I'm not stupid. The sixth malefic star said disdainfully, What's the hurry? This is just the beginning. Today, I will open your eyes. Unfortunately, once you see my martial spirit, you will definitely die, because I won't let you leave alive. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Don't be an alarmist. Even if you have the immemorial dragon soul and the immortal soul of the 12 human immortals, you can't scare me. The sixth malefic star shouted. What if it's the mountain river martial spirit? The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth raised into a cold smile. At that moment, the red sun and the bright moon behind him turned into 2 bright spots. It merged into the boundless mountain river martial spirit. Behind Ling Xiao was a pitch-black universe. In the universe, a ferocious beast lay on its stomach. Its body was bigger than a dozen planets. This was the first time Ling Xiao used his mountain river martial spirit in front of others. However, his mountain river martial spirit felt very different from the human king's mountain river martial spirit. The human king's mountain river martial spirit only created a mysterious world, a space of everything and nothing more. However, Ling Xiao's mountain river martial spirit became even more vast because of the memories in his mind. It encompassed the entire universe. The mountain river world was just a space within it, dominating the universe, roaring in the 9 heavens. Right, since it's already my martial spirit, and to distinguish it from the human king's mountain river martial spirit, I will call it the tyrannical martial spirit from now on. The martial soul phantom behind him made Ling Xiao feel a sense of pride. He immediately gave his brand new martial soul a brand new name. In fact, when she heard Ling Xiao say the words mountain river martial spirit, the sixth malefic star's heart was already trembling violently, as if it could shatter at any time. Looking at the vast universe, the sixth malefic star no longer had any fighting spirit. Her fighting spirit completely collapsed and shattered in an instant. No, impossible. It's absolutely impossible. How can a lowly human like you have such a great martial spirit? It's impossible. The sixth malefic star couldn't believe what she saw was true. That was the mountain river martial spirit, a martial spirit that the entire mysterious world went crazy for. Once this secret was leaked out, not to mention the sky dragon continent, the divine phoenix continent, and the white tiger continent, even the immortal court continent and the hell continent, which were far away from the gate of heaven's choice, would be alarmed. No wonder Ling Xiao said that she would definitely die if she saw this martial spirit. So this was what he meant. No, it's impossible. You can't have the mountain river martial spirit, and your martial spirit is different from the ancient records. The sixth malefic star began to hypnotize herself. Haha, you're right. My martial spirit is the tyrannical martial spirit, not the mountain river martial spirit. Ling Xiao smiled as if he was looking at a fool. P.S. I suddenly found that the chapter number's wrong. There are no chapters missing. The VIP chapters can't be changed. Fortunately, it doesn't affect reading. Sorry, everyone. Chapter 1459. Ling Xiao looked at the sixth malefic as if he was looking at a fool. The sixth malefic star, who had wanted to kill him just a moment ago, was now completely terrified. The power of the mountain river martial soul was really amazing. That's right. Your martial soul is the sky martial soul, not the mountain river martial soul. I admit that I'm not your match. How about you let me go? What a joke. The mountain river martial soul was the most special martial soul since ancient times. The human king had relied on the mountain river martial soul to conquer the world and create the glory of the mystic world. Its power was clearly recorded in the ancient books. Ling Xiao was not weak. Now that he had the help of the mountain river martial soul, she was no match for him. It's too late. Ling Xiao shook his head. If the sixth malefic had chosen to reconcile or surrender before he released the sky martial soul, he could have chosen not to fight. After all, fighting in the depths of the primitive forest could easily alarm the terrifying demonic beast overlord. But now that the sky tyrant martial spirit had been revealed, the only thing Ling Xiao could do was to silence them. He could not let the sixth malefic reveal his secret. Otherwise, it would not be the same generation of martial artists who would hunt him down. Perhaps even the peerless experts of the White Tiger continent would appear. At that time, even the Moon Maiden would not be able to protect him. In the worst-case scenario, even the Moon Maiden would be implicated and lose her life. Ling Xiao was arrogant, but he was not stupid. When it was time to show his strength, he would not be stingy. When it was not time to reveal it, he would not reveal it. He had protected the secret of the mountain river martial soul from the Ling family in Tianfeng City to Qingshu College in the divine Phoenix continent. He would continue to do so in the future. Ling Xiao, don't think that I'm afraid of you. I have the cultivation of the fifth Grotto Heaven realm, and my Gemini true body has the third Grotto Heaven realm. We both have the three-leaf demonic eyes. Even if you want to fight, you won't be able to win easily. The sixth malefic said, I'm not begging you. I just feel that there's no need to fight to the death. If that's the case, it might have been effective if you said it earlier, but now it's meaningless. Ling Xiao sneered and said, once the Sky Tyrant martial spirit appeared, you were doomed to die. Sky Tyrant, Red Sun All. After releasing the Sky Tyrant martial spirit, the Red Sun All was like a huge comet falling from the universe. Dragging its long tail, it smashed toward the sixth fiend. Even Ling Xiao was shocked by this scene. Coupled with the Sky Tyrant martial spirit, his light and shadow profound had become much stronger. Right now, even if Xiao Chun faced a genius cultivator of the seventh Grotto Heaven realm, he would not need to use the power of a sovereign personage to crush them, let alone a mere sixth fiend. The enormous Crimson Sun all seemed to be moving slowly, but its speed was actually astonishingly fast. The sixth malefic star's eyes were filled with terror. All that was left in her eyes was the gigantic Crimson Sun All. The sky-dominating Crimson Sun All that could destroy the forest within a radius of several hundred meters. Run. Without any thoughts of resistance, the sixth malefic star's first thought was to run away. The pressure that the sky-dominating crimson sun all gave her was too terrifying. It was as if she was being chased by a real star in the sky. Not only was it powerful, but it was also extremely terrifying. That feeling made her want to vomit blood. You just said that I was running for my life. But what are you doing now? Aren't you going to kill me to avenge your seventh malefic star? Ling Xiao walked leisurely. He now had the whole world, the whole universe. It was impossible for the sixth malefic star to escape. Soon, the sixth malefic star realized that no matter which direction she ran in, she would eventually get lost. Then, she would inexplicably run toward Ling Xiao, as if she was walking right into a trap. With the sky tyrant martial spirit and the realm of controlling heaven and earth, Ling Xiao felt that he was in control for the first time. That feeling was really cool. Being able to toy with a powerful enemy in the palm of his hand was something that he had always dreamed of. Today it had finally come true. His stomach, full of resentment, was now completely vented out. The sixth malefic star's choice to run was actually a wise choice, because her three-leaf demonic eyes were useless against Ling Xiao, and her Gemini martial spirits were so weak against the sky tyrant martial spirit. Therefore, she had to run to have a chance of survival. However, at this moment, the sixth malefic star realized that there was no way for her to escape. When a person was in despair, they would be stimulated with a crazy fighting spirit. She suddenly stopped. Her three-leaf demonic eyes spun wildly, and a demonic creature crawled out from the ground. The Soul Clan was good at communicating with creatures from the other world using their soul power, and those who had awakened their eye technique would have an easier time communicating. That huge demonic creature was more than 10 meters tall. Its whole body was golden, like a giant made of bronze. It held a huge spear in its hand and looked coldly at Ling Xiao. The sixth malefic star's body had completely merged with the huge demonic creature. The Soul Clan really lives up to their reputation. I've already exposed my sky tyrant martial spirit, but I still can't defeat her easily. It seems that my cultivation is still not enough. Ling Xiao looked at the huge bronze demon with a cold gaze. His expression was as indifferent as ever. Ling Xiao, you could have let me go. We shouldn't have to fight to the death. But now you regret it. I've already decided to fight with you. Even if I die, I'll severely injure you. I'll even drag you down with me. The sixth malefic star had completely gone crazy. She no longer had the fear from before. The huge bronze demon lifted its leg and charged at Ling Xiao. With every step it took, the ground shook violently. Boom! The sky tyrant red sun all finally fell, but it was shattered by the huge bronze demon's spear. Although the bronze demon retreated a few steps and almost fell to the ground, it instantly regained its footing. It let out a shocking roar and stabbed the huge spear in its hand again. You're very tenacious. I have to say, you're indeed much stronger than the seventh malefic star. Especially with the Soul Clan's ability to communicate with other worlds, it's simply cheating. Although Ling Xiao's expression was still indifferent, he admired his opponent from the bottom of his heart. She was really too strong. No wonder she was the Black Crow Empire's sixth malefic star. She was much stronger than the phoenixes he had killed before. She was stronger than Ji Ying, stronger than Nan Sha. This was the Soul Clan. This kind of talent bloodline was not something humans could compare to. If humans wanted to fight these monsters, the only thing they could rely on was their martial spirits. Although other clans could also have martial spirits, they could even have both martial spirits and bloodlines. Only humans could raise the power of their martial spirits to the extreme. This was probably what the creator meant by fairness. The sixth malefic star did not get carried away by Ling Xiao's praise. Only when a warrior was certain of victory would they praise their opponent. Chapter 1460. The sixth malefic star felt helpless and hopeless. She knew that she could not win. Sky Tyrant Taotai Doomsday. A sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. It was as if a terrifying beast had suddenly awakened and crawled out from the pitch-black universe. The huge bronze troll emitted a golden light. Crazy power poured into the long spear in his hand, as if he was going to fight against the star-devourer behemoth. Roar! A deep and majestic roar came from the Taotia's mouth. There was contempt and disdain in its eyes. The Taotai martial soul was already powerful. Now that it had merged with Ling Zhao's light and shadow ultimacy, it launched a fierce attack with the support of the Sky Tyrant martial soul. It was powerful enough to look down on the sixth malefic star. Even the bronze troll was nothing in its eyes. Rumble. When this roar rang out, the entire world shook. It was as if a hurricane had swept through the forest within 100-mile radius, causing countless beasts to tremble in fear. What's going on over there? Why is there such a big commotion? Could it be that the Overlord has finally gone mad? Near the black volcano, the experts sensed the powerful aura in horror. It was a terrifying aura that could swallow the sun and the moon and control the world. Even they felt threatened. They did not know what was going on over there, so they could only wait and watch quietly. They guessed in their hearts. At the same time, the sword in Ling Zhao's hand had already pierced out. The huge Taotai opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the bronze troll whole. Together with the sixth malefic star, they disappeared into the bloody mouth. Together with the attack of the Doomsday, Ling Zhao used the Sky Tyrant Shadow All to kill the Gemini martial soul. The two real bodies were destroyed at the same time. The sixth malefic star was completely dead. Beside the destroyed black volcano, the experts frowned at the same time. That was because the commotion had disappeared completely in an instant. In the battle just now, there seemed to be the auras of Ling Zhao and the sixth malefic star, but they disappeared almost at the same time. Ji Ruolong frowned. Did they perish together? Impossible. How could Ling Zhao be a match for the sixth malefic star? Maybe the two of them provoked the overlord of the primitive forest and were both killed. Otherwise, it would be impossible to produce such a terrifying aura. Raven Queen frowned. She would rather accept the fact that the sixth malefic star and Ling Zhao were both killed by the overlord than admit that Ling Zhao could perish together with the sixth malefic star. Do you want to go and take a look? If your sixth malefic star is still alive, we might be able to save him. Although that overlord is strong, we don't have to fear him if we work together. Ji Ruolong suggested. In fact, the old man was still thinking about Ling Zhao. Originally, he wanted to wait for the sixth malefic star to bring back Ling Zhao's body and then find a way to take it for himself. But now, it seemed that his hopes were dashed. Regardless of whether Ling Zhao was dead or alive, he had to go in and take a look. However, if he went in alone, he was afraid that there would be an unforeseen event. So he asked the others. There's no need for that. Even if that overlord killed the two of them at the same time, the sixth malefic star can't really be dead. Her martial soul is a little special. The sixth malefic star had always believed that her martial soul had never been exposed. But how could she hide it from an expert like the Raven Queen? Knowing that the sixth malefic star had twin martial souls, the Raven Queen appeared very calm and was not worried at all. The other warriors of the Black Crow Empire also followed the Raven Queen's lead. So if the Raven Queen was not worried, they naturally were not worried either. Ji Ruolong did not say anything else and continued to wait. Another hour passed by. Finally, a worried look appeared on the Raven Queen's face, and the other warriors of the Black Crow Empire were also a little anxious. Mother, why don't you let me go in and take a look? No matter what, the sixth malefic star is an important fighting force of our Black Crow Empire. We can't just bury her in this primitive forest for no reason. Tomohiko Kuma could not hold it in any longer. I said that there's no need for that. Maybe she's just hiding from that overlord, so she's wasting some time. We just need to wait for her to bring Ling Zhao's body out. The Raven Queen shook her head, her attitude very firm. However, even she was not firm enough in her heart. After not seeing the sixth malefic star for such a long time, she was afraid that the odds were against her. Tomohiko Kuma still wanted to say something, but when he saw the Raven Queen's ashen face, he shut his mouth. He knew better than anyone what kind of temper his mother had. Once she was angry, she would not recognize anyone. Another quarter of an hour or so passed. Ji Ruolong sneered. Since the Raven Queen doesn't care about her family's genius warriors, this old man will lead the people of the Ji family into the forest first. That Ling Xiao killed my grandson. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Time passed slowly. The Raven Queen frowned. She naturally heard the sarcasm in Ji Ruolong's words. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. I don't believe that the 6th malefic star will be buried in this forest. Also, the head of the Ji family, you're right. If he's alive, I want to see Ling Xiao's corpse. Otherwise, the revenge of our Black Crow Empire's Grandmaster will not be considered. She had no other choice, and she was indeed very concerned about Ling Xiao's life. Hence, her figure flashed, and she led the warriors of the Black Crow Empire into the forest. Even if Ling Xiao is dead, his corpse belongs to our Permitha Island. I want to refine him into the best zombie. Ha 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 ha. The Permitha Islands, to be inconsolable, also laughed and flew into the forest. The rest of the warriors of the Permitha Island followed, closely behind. Shall we go and take a look? Zhu Tianlin glanced at Zhou Yun and said, At this time, Ji Ruolong, to be inconsolable, and the Raven Queen had all entered the forest. If Ling Xiao was really still alive, they would also have to help. Ice Phoenix, ancestor, are you going? Zhou Yun turned his head to look at the Ice Phoenix ancestor and asked, Of course, why wouldn't I go? The Ice Phoenix ancestor was also very curious about whether Ling Xiao, that stubborn boy, was still alive. That boy had too many secrets. She could not let others take advantage of him. Hence, the 6 experts entered the forest one after another to search for Ling Xiao and the 6th malefic star. More than an hour had passed. Ling Xiao had already put away the sky tyrant martial soul. Looking at the mess around him, he could not help but sigh in his heart. The power of the sky tyrant martial soul was too terrifying. After releasing it, the power of the light shadow profound meanings moves would become incomparably huge. Moreover, it seemed to be out of the control of the mystic world's laws. In the mystic world, the laws set by the experts of the immortal court continent would generally limit the power of various moves and the speed of cultivation. This was also why, except for the warriors of the Hell continent who could draw energy from the underworld, the warriors of the other continents had no chance of winning against the warriors of the immortal court continent. Chapter 1461. Others controlled the laws of the mystic realm. The power of one's attack was determined by others. The most hateful thing was the cultivation speed. Under the control of the laws of the mystic realm, no matter how hard one tried, one would never be able to reach the level of the immortal court, unless one had a martial soul that could break these laws. For example, the 9 great primordial dragon souls, the 12 immortal human souls, and the most powerful mountain river martial soul. It just so happened that Ling Xiao possessed the mountain river martial soul, so his cultivation speed was so fast. Or if one made offerings to the powerhouses of the immortal court, they would remove some cultivation barriers after they were satisfied. This was also why the martialists on the 11 continents and countless islands had their own immortal spirits. The so-called immortal spirits were actually the martialists of the immortal court. Of course, there were also some martialists who worshipped the underworld spirits of the Hell continent. The effect was the same. The more offerings there were, the fewer cultivation barriers there would be. As a result, the greater the clan and sect's disciples were, the easier it was for them to cultivate in an unequal situation. In addition, the closer one was to the heaven's chosen gate, the weaker the power of the laws of the mystic realm. This was also one of the reasons why the closer one was to the heaven's chosen gate, the stronger the martialists. The Sky Dragon continent was suppressed by the laws of the mystic realm. Even if there were geniuses, they would become trash. In the past, Ling Xiao didn't understand this very well. However, After fully releasing the Sky Tyrant martial soul today, he gradually understood this more clearly. Of course, this was also partly thanks to his master, Yuan Venerate. After all, Yuan Venerate had been to the Immortal Court before and was one of the most outstanding pharmacists there. He definitely knew more than he did. When the power of the Sky Tyrant martial soul broke through the control of the laws and released a powerful move, the Immortal Court continent, which was far away near the Heaven's Chosen Gate, also received a big impact. In the Imperial Palace of the Heavenly Court Empire, which was located in the clouds of the Immortal Court continent, the Immortal Emperor frowned slightly as he looked into the distance. Imperial Tutor, it seems like another demon has appeared on the Divine Phoenix continent. Your Majesty, I'm afraid the evildoer born this time is very different from the past. He's even more troublesome than the previous Yuan Venerates, Ji Fuling and Ji Chong. A look of horror appeared on the aged Imperial Preceptor's face. Your Majesty, do you remember the phantom of the primordial Golden Dragon Emperor that broke through the laws of the profound world? I remember. At that time, it seemed to be a martial artist from the Heavenly Dragon continent who did it. It's a pity that we haven't been able to find out who it was. The Immortal Emperor nodded. I'm afraid it's the same person who ignored the profound world's laws again. Moreover, his martial soul is the mountain river martial soul that we fear the most, the Imperial Master said solemnly. What? The Immortal Emperor sat up abruptly with a look of disbelief on his face. I didn't expect that after 100,000 years, there would still be someone who could perfectly inherit that guy's martial spirit. It's not just inheritance, but sublimation. The Imperial Tutor's words shocked the Immortal Emperor once again. This child probably possesses the power of the ancient Golden Dragon Monarch's bloodline. Together with the mountain and river martial spirit, his growth will definitely be even more shocking than that of a sovereign personage. The Immortal Emperor slowly sat down. A moment later, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Don't you have a lot of followers? It seems that the strongest force in the White Tiger continent, the Righteous Sect, was founded by your followers. You gave him a dream and asked him to find this demon. If possible, recruit him. If not, kill him without mercy. Your Majesty is wise. The Imperial Master also smiled and said, Actually, the Heavenly Dragon continent and the Divine Phoenix continent also have our Heavenly Court's followers. However, the martial artists on those two continents are too weak, so I have never been interested in paying attention to them. This time I can use them. Do it immediately. Yes, Your Majesty. Of course. Ling Xiao didn't know what was happening in the distant Immortal Court. It was even more impossible for him to know that a terrifying expert had his eyes on him, because it was his first time releasing the Tyrant Martial Soul. He hadn't figured out how to block the aura. As a result, he directly penetrated the laws and attracted the attention of the Immortal Court. However, if there was a second time, he would be even more careful. Of course, the Tyrant Martial Soul was too powerful. If he could avoid using it, he would try his best not to. In any case, there weren't many opponents who were worthy of him fully releasing the Tyrant Martial Soul. He only needed to release a part of it. In order to avoid being targeted, I have to constantly become stronger. At the very least, I have to step into the Yin-Yang realm first. Once my cultivation reaches the Yin-Yang realm, the entire Divine Phoenix continent will be under my feet. At that time, let's see who dares to criticize me. Who still dares to call me a despicable human? Who dares to casually bully and deal with me? Strength. Everything depended on strength. Ling Xiao understood very well that it was precisely because he was too weak that he was constantly provoked and bullied. No matter where he went, he couldn't cultivate in peace. He was the one who created the Blackwater Lake, but he couldn't quietly take it away. He clearly had a powerful martial soul, but he didn't dare to use it. All of this was related to strength. If you weren't strong, others would treat you like air or an ant. Even if you obtained a treasure, others would fight for it without discussing it with you. It was clearly others who attacked you first and were killed, but it was as if you were the one who committed the most heinous crime. This kind of twisting of the truth, confusing right and wrong and pointing at a deer as a horse, was simply suffocating. Anger. I'd better find a place to digest the experience from the battle just now. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao gradually calmed down. No matter how angry he was, it was meaningless. It was better to raise his strength first. He found a secluded place and began to reflect on the battle just now. 15 minutes later, his right eye suddenly opened. It was the same as the sixth malefic star's three-leaf demonic eye. The left eye was the Taiji eye and the right eye was the three-leaf demonic eye. Ling Xiao's two eyes now had special abilities. The Taiji eye's main abilities were soul judgment and analytical insight. Of course, soul judgment currently included the 5 abilities of the Divine Tomb: Burning Heaven, Sage King, Sword Spirit, and Immortal Pot, and still needed to be developed. As for the three-leaf demonic eye, its greatest ability was probably soul capture. It could control and tame beasts, and even martial artists. Of course, there was another ability, the demonic eye attack. This was the ability that the sixth malefic star had used to attack Ling Xiao. There was also another ability the sixth malefic star had used before his death to communicate with another world. It could summon a powerful war demon from another world. Currently, the sixth malefic star could summon a bronze giant demon. Its cultivation seemed to be on par with a martial artist, but its defense and strength were both astonishing. Basically, its combat strength was much greater than the martial artist's. Although he wasn't too familiar with the three-leaf demonic eye, Ling Xiao knew that he had picked up a treasure this time. Chapter 1462. Obtaining the three-leaf demonic pupil was a time to be excited. However, things were not over yet. Another hour passed. Behind Ling Xiao, a person who looked exactly like him walked out. Hello. Hello. The two of them smiled at each other. They were both very happy. The Gemini martial soul had been devoured by the Taotai, but it had become Ling Xiao's martial soul by relying on the terrifying assimilation effect of the Sky Tyrant martial soul. Although the combat strength of the Gemini martial soul was worrying, it was equivalent to giving Ling Xiao an extra life. No, it was not just an extra life. If someone wanted to kill him, they would have to kill him and the Gemini martial soul at the same time. In this way, as long as he was careful, he would almost become immortal. Sixth malefic star, what a waste of such a good martial soul. Why did you use it to fight? If you let it hide, how could I kill you so easily? Ling Xiao shook his head, and he was secretly delighted in his heart. Although the battle today was very tiring, the gains after the battle were also huge. Let's leave here first. There are so many experts gathered outside. Even if they are afraid of the overlord in this primitive forest, they still dare to come in. If I encounter them, it will be troublesome. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao stood up and walked deeper into the forest. He was also afraid of the overlord, but since he would not be attacked if he did not provoke him, there was no need to worry. He was not the kind of person who liked to provoke others. As Ling Xiao expected, the experts outside led their disciples into the primitive forest and began to chase in the direction of the battle between him and the sixth malefic star. Although they were not fast, they should be able to reach there in 15 minutes. The Raven Queen had sworn that even if Ling Xiao killed the sixth malefic star, she would not attack Ling Xiao again. Of course, this was limited to the Sacred Dynasty Island. However, in addition to the Black Crow Empire, Ling Xiao still had to face the pursuit of the Ji family and the Permitha Immortal Island. They had never sworn an oath. Not long after Ling Xiao left, the huge crowd had already arrived at the place where the battle had taken place. Seeing the messy scene, everyone's heart couldn't help but tremble. Within a radius of a few hundred meters, not a single blade of grass survived. The ground was still emitting an aura of death, which was terrifying. Ling Xiao and the sixth fiend fought here, but I don't sense the aura of that overlord. Ji Ruolong went forward to take a look, but his brows furrowed tightly. He couldn't understand. How Could the destructive power of the battle between two Grotto Heaven realm martial artists threaten a yin yang realm martial artist like him? Who released this power? Ling Xiao or the sixth malefic star? How are they doing now? Are they all dead? Or have they all gone missing? Apart from the auras on the battlefield, it was difficult to find their auras anywhere else. Ling Xiao is still alive. Perhaps the sixth malefic star is already dead. To be inconsolable suddenly spoke. What did you say? Raven Queen couldn't believe this was true. But since these words came from To be inconsolable, they couldn't be false. To be inconsolable was very sensitive to the aura of death. Only she could tell who had died in this battle. It wasn't just Raven Queen who was shocked. Everyone was shocked and bewildered by this. Was Ling Xiao really that powerful? How could he kill the sixth malefic star and cause such terrifying destruction? You've miscalculated. Ancestor Ice Phoenix suddenly laughed. What do you mean? Raven Queen, Ji Ruolong, and To be inconsolable turned to look at him at almost the same time. Ling Xiao's martial soul might be inhabited by a living being, and this living being is much stronger than him. Ancestor Ice Phoenix replied, Of course, this is just my personal guess. Whether it's true or not is still unconfirmed, but looking at the scene, I'm most likely right. Then let's find him until we find him. Raven Queen had rushed to the enchanted island of the sacred dynasty for the immemorial demon and the immemorial golden crow. She just happened to encounter Ling Xiao, so she wanted to kill him to vent her hatred. But she didn't manage to kill Ling Xiao, and she lost the seventh and sixth malefic stars in succession. She didn't feel proud at all. Now, only by finding Ling Xiao and tearing him to pieces could she vent the hatred in her heart. Everyone of the Black Crow Empire, listen up. I don't care what methods you use. Whoever can find Ling Xiao will be honored as a prince of the Black Crow Empire and rewarded with a mid-level jade martial art. Whoever can kill him can also make a request of me. As long as I can do it, I'll fulfill my promise. Raven Queen was completely enraged. Raven, think carefully. You just swore that regardless of whether Ling Xiao killed the sixth malefic star or not, you can't do anything to him on the enchanted island of the sacred dynasty. Zhu Tianlin reminded her. I don't need you to remind me. I won't do anything, and there's no need for me to do anything. Raven Queen believed that even if Ling Xiao really killed the sixth malefic star, the other 5 malefic stars were all present, except for the first and second malefic stars. She didn't believe that the third, fourth, and fifth malefic stars couldn't kill Ling Xiao. As you wish. Although Ling Xiao killed the sixth malefic star in disbelief, the generous reward still filled the warriors of the Black Crow Empire with anticipation. They forgot about their fear and danger and rushed into the depths of the primitive forest. You guys go with us. Ji Ruolong turned around and said to the warriors of the Ji family, Find Ling Xiao. No matter if he's dead or alive, you must bring him back. Yes. Although the warriors of the Ji family didn't quite understand why Ji Ruolong did this, this was the order of the patriarch. They naturally didn't dare to disobey and rushed into the forest. Ji Huangtian also wanted to go, but he was stopped by Ji Ruolong. Huangtian, you just returned. You should go back and rest. Prepare to participate in the Dragon Phoenix selection. All right. Ji Huangtian glanced at the dense forest. Previously, he was very disdainful of Ling Xiao, but at this moment he actually had a strong interest in this man. It was a pity that he couldn't personally kill him. He hoped to see him again at the Dragon Phoenix selection. You guys go too. Huangquan, you should also return to the Divine Phoenix continent first. Just prepare to participate in the Dragon Phoenix selection. You don't have to worry about other things. To be inconsolable was a very cunning woman. When she saw that Ji Ruolong was very interested in Ling Xiao, even if it was a corpse, she felt that there was a problem. Thus, she gave the same order. It was just to kill a mere Ling Xiao. There was no need to let Zhong Yu Huangquan stay here and waste his time. Understood, Island Master. Zhong Yu Huangquan smiled. Now that Ling Xiao wasn't in the divine Phoenix Empire, he could go back and tease that cold-faced servant girl by Ling Xiao's side. She seemed to be called Cold Plum. Chapter 1463. Ancestor Ice Phoenix wore a solemn expression, although he had come to help Ling Xiao on the surface. Deep in his heart, he wished for nothing more than for Ling Xiao to die. But this aunt that he didn't even bother to look at back then had already grown to such an extent. He originally thought that without the Moon Maiden by Ling Xiao's side, this child would definitely die. But now, it seemed that the development of the situation had greatly exceeded his expectations. If this child wasn't eliminated, it would definitely lead to a great disaster. Zhou Yan's eyes also flickered. When Ling Xiao first went to the Divine Phoenix capital, he had seen Ling Xiao's terrifying talent, so he had suggested that Feng Yinshan form an alliance with this child. However, even he had absolutely not expected that this child's speed of growth would be too astonishing. Ling Xiao, oh Ling Xiao, is it better for you to die? Or is it better to live? Zhou Yun fell into silence. A figure appeared in Zhu Tianlin's mind. Ling Xiao was too similar to that person. No, it should be said that Ling Xiao's development path was more difficult than that person's, but more dazzling than that person's. Ji Furing. Oh, Ji Furing, if you were still alive, how would you judge such a monstrous genius? 2 hours before the kill order was issued, Ling Xiao had already stepped into the most dangerous depths of the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island's primitive forest. Not only did the Overlord reside here, but there were also many powerful Grotto Heaven realm beasts. He had his Taiji eye open the entire time, so he could clearly sense everything within a radius of 1 mile. If there was killing intent within a range of 10 miles, he could also capture it. Back in the dragon subduing mountain range of the Heavenly Dragon Continent, he had relied on his outstanding perception to avoid those terrifying beasts. It was the same now. Whether or not he was an opponent, he wouldn't touch a meaningless battle and would choose to avoid it. The primitive forest of the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island wasn't as large as the dragon's subduing mountain range of the Heavenly Dragon Continent, but it was inhabited by strange beasts with primordial bloodlines. They hadn't been able to evolve to this day, so many of them still retained some of their ancestors' characteristics. Many cultivators liked to step into this place because they wanted to obtain these beasts. That was because he could create faith martial arts from the divine characters in their bodies. It was even to the extent that the entire body of these primeval variant beasts was a treasure. If they were captured and sold, it would be a rather generous income. Fortunately, Ling Xiao was not short of money. Otherwise, he would have been tempted. Of course, the other important reason why Ling Xiao did not make a move was because of the Overlord in the depths of the forest. He could clearly feel the powerful aura, so he basically avoided the area where the aura was released. Although he was arrogant, he knew his limits. Even Yin-Yang realm warriors feared an existence. A mere Grotto Heaven realm warrior like him would only be sending himself to his death if he went. This place should be good enough. Ling Xiao looked behind him. There were no martial artists chasing after him. Along the way, there were quite a few powerful beasts. Most of them were at the Grotto Heaven realm. As he possessed the Taiji eye, he was able to completely avoid them. However, if other warriors wanted to pursue him, it would be impossible to avoid these Grotto Heaven realm beasts. Therefore, he should be safe for the time being. At this moment, he was not in a hurry to go out because the primordial Sky Fiend, primordial Golden Crow, and the immortal sword were all in his body. He wanted to completely turn these 3 into his own. In that case, he believed that no matter if it was his cultivation or combat strength, it would undergo a qualitative leap. What's that? Just as Ling Xiao was about to sit down and start comprehending, a powerful aura suddenly rushed in his direction from the depths of the forest. Ling Xiao's heart trembled incessantly. This aura was too terrifying. It shouldn't be that Overlord. Then what is it? After a moment of hesitation, he turned around and fled. Unfortunately, no matter how he fled, the powerful aura was getting closer and closer to him. Its speed was simply astonishing. Ling Xiao rarely lost to others in terms of speed unless his opponent's cultivation was much higher than his. However, this time he was really convinced. This fellow's speed was simply much faster than his. When he was fleeing, he could not take a detour at all. Therefore, he plunged into the two-headed demonic bear's nest. F***CKU. The two-headed demonic bear, as the name suggested, was a demonic bear with two heads. However, these two heads were very mysterious. Usually, each head represented a type of attribute and could unleash terrifying attribute attacks. I'm not interested in fighting with you now. Ling Xiao's figure flashed, avoiding the two-headed demonic bear, and fled further away. Just a moment after he left, he heard the two-headed demonic bear's shrill cry behind him. The two-headed demonic bear's combat strength was only slightly weaker than mine. It was actually killed in an instant. It seems that this person is really powerful. Ling Xiao thought for a moment. Instead of running away without thinking, he might as well calm down and find an opportunity to deal with it. If he ran like this, he would definitely not be able to escape from the other party. Moreover, he might encounter more trouble. Thinking of this, he suddenly stopped and took out a few formation refining stones from his storage ring with his right hand and threw them out. Then he stood there and looked in the direction that the fierce creature was coming from. It was close. Ling Xiao was a little nervous. After all, the enemy was much stronger than him. It was definitely not something that he could deal with easily. Fire snake formation. The first formation refining stone released a fire snake formation. Fire snakes suddenly drilled out from the ground and spat out blazing flames towards the invading enemy. Whoosh! However, it was just a gust of wind. Ling Xiao did not even get a clear look at the creature's appearance, and the fire snake formation was broken. Thorns formation. The second array refining stone released a thistles and thorns array. Dense thistles and thorns suddenly sprang up from the ground, blocking the monster's path. This time, the thorns formation only slowed down the opponent's speed, allowing Ling Xiao to see a little of the other party's appearance. It was a wolf, a huge white wolf. The white wolf was 3 to 4 meters tall and 7 to 8 meters long. There was a strange moon mark on its forehead. Silver moon greedy wolf. Seeing this beast, Ling Xiao's pupils suddenly shrank. This beast looked so majestic and ferocious. Its entire body seemed to be wrapped in moonlight. When it ran, its limbs were wrapped in blue-purple flames. It looked extremely demonic. Legend had it that in the primordial era there was a kind of exotic beast that was good at absorbing moonlight essence and was extremely powerful. Although it looked like a demon wolf, it did not like to live in groups. It was very powerful and liked to live alone. It was extremely noble. This was the silver moon greedy wolf. In the sky dragon continent and the divine phoenix continent, this kind of beast had long been extinct. He did not expect to see this kind of exotic beast in the primitive forest of the sacred dynasty's fairy island. Legend had it that the silver moon greedy wolf was extremely fast. When it flew on moonlight, even the dragons of the primordial era had to be wary of it. Unfortunately, perhaps because they were too arrogant, there was a serious problem with reproduction. Chapter 1464. Even in ancient times, there were no more than 1,000 silver moon greedy wolves. They were considered rare beasts. Now, there were even fewer of them. Ling Xiao felt that he was really lucky to have encountered a beast that was thought to be extinct a long time ago. Most beasts were destined to be powerful the moment they were born. Because beasts did not know how to cultivate, once they grew to a certain extent, their strength would rise to the peak and they would no longer be able to advance any further. They were not like humans who could constantly cultivate to break through. Therefore, the potential of beasts was even more important. According to ancient records, the silver moon greedy wolf's descendant, the moonlight white wolf, could become a reincarnation beast. It was equivalent to a reincarnation realm expert. This was already very shocking. As the ancestor of the moonlight white wolf, the silver moon greedy wolf's potential was self-evident. It's not bad to capture it and make it a pet for Sister Moon Lady. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up with excitement. The silver moon greedy wolf was good at absorbing moonlight essence. It could definitely help the Moon Lady. While he was thinking, the silver moon greedy wolf had already broken through the thorns formation and was charging at him. Swamp formation. The third alchemy formation, stone, fell to the ground and formed a swamp. The silver moon greedy wolf was almost hit. But just as it was about to sink into the swamp, bright moonlight shot out from its feet and it flew into the air, crossing the swamp formation. If I knew it was a silver moon greedy wolf, I wouldn't have used the swamp formation. What a waste! The swamp formation is useless against things that can fly. Ling Xiao sighed and activated the fourth alchemy formation stone. Rock formation. Sand and stones flew in the air. Stones the size of a human head rained down on the silver moon greedy wolf. Awoo! After the silver moon greedy wolf let out a loud cry, the moon mark on its forehead actually released a crescent-shaped blade of light, instantly breaking through the dense formation of rocks. It's not easy to deal with. This guy should be a Grotto Heaven beast at the 7th Grotto Heaven realm. Ling Xiao could not help but frown when the silver moon greedy wolf broke through 4 formations in a row. But the more it was like this, the more excited he was. If the silver moon greedy wolf wasn't strong enough, it wouldn't be qualified to serve the Moon Lady. He couldn't stay by Sister Moon Lady's side all the time, so this silver moon greedy wolf, as a pet, could be used to relieve Sister Moon Lady's boredom. Just as he was thinking, the silver moon greedy wolf had already closed in on him. Absolute ice array. Ling Xiao released the last refining formation stone. With his body as the center, everything within 10 meters of him instantly froze. Even the silver moon greedy wolf was instantly frozen. However, before he could be happy, then the ice completely shattered. Ow! It rushed over at a terrifying speed. Ling Xiao had nowhere to run. He could only release the Scarlet Sun feather raiment in an instant and protect his vitals with both hands. Boom! A terrifying sound rang out in the forest. Ling Xiao was sent flying hundreds of meters away, smashing through dozens of trees before coming to a stop. Pooh! Ling Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn, it was too strong. As expected of a silver moon greedy wolf with a pure ancient bloodline, it was simply terrifying. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ling Xiao half squatted on the ground, but the silver moon greedy wolf was nowhere to be seen. That guy could attack from any direction at any time. He had to be careful. Whoosh! Ling Xiao hurriedly dodged. He had already captured the silver moon greedy wolf's movements, but it was useless. The opponent was too fast. Even if he expected it, he couldn't dodge it. There was a mark on his chest from the huge wolf claw, although it wasn't very serious. But don't forget, he was under the protection of the Scarlet Sun feather raiment. Even so, he was still injured. This silver moon greedy wolf was much more terrifying than the 6th and 7th malefic stars. Light shadow battle armor. Ling Xiao had no choice but to raise the level of his defense. The combination of light and darkness made his defense even stronger. In the past, Ling Xiao relied on his speed advantage. Even if he faced a stronger warrior, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. But this time it was different. The silver moon greedy wolf in front of him was much faster than him. Without the advantage of speed, what should he do? This was a problem he had never encountered before. Now that this problem was placed in front of him, he had to solve it. Since speed isn't enough, then let's fight head-on. You're just a beast. No matter how strong you are, you don't know as much as I do. Although Ling Xiao was injured, he calmed down. He had to admit that this silver moon greedy wolf was really strong. But so what? Ling Xiao had faced too many strong warriors. It wasn't like he didn't encounter any stronger than the silver moon greedy wolf. What did he have to fear? Sword of Destruction, Stormy Sun Change. In an instant, Ling Xiao combined the Sword of Destruction and Divine Sword of Light and released his strongest attack. The silver moon greedy wolf only looked coldly at Ling Xiao as if this attack was nothing. Awoo! A clear howl sounded. The silver moon greedy wolf spat out a blue flame from its mouth. It actually repelled Ling Xiao's sword light in an instant. Powerful, but the more powerful you are, the more I like it. Again. Dark Massacre Sword. Soul Destroyer. One black and one white, the two swords combined. The Sword of Destruction and the Dark Massacre Sword attacked the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf at the same time. This was Ling Xiao's strongest attack without using his Sky Tyrant martial soul. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf slowed down. It seemed that it also felt the power of Ling Xiao's attack. Awoo! Another clear howl rang out. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's body shone with blue light. Its body turned into a ray of light and collided with Ling Xiao's two sword lights. Kaboom! A loud explosion sounded in the forest. Ling Xiao was not afraid of any Grotto Heaven beasts coming. This was because even the beasts would be afraid of such a strong destructive force. They would not choose to come over, but to run away. 3-leaf demonic eyes. Soul Catcher! Ling Xiao knew that he would not be able to last long in a head-on clash. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was stronger than him, so he had to use other methods. Therefore, the 3-leaf demonic eyes that he had just obtained became his weapon to defeat his enemy. After releasing the Soul Catcher, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's fighting spirit was weakened significantly. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf felt a terrifying power being injected into its body, as if it was trying to make it submit and become a puppet of the other party. However, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was a proud existence. How could it become a puppet for a human? Awoo! The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's howl rang through the clouds. The moonlight on its body was as bright as the sun. Damn, I'm so unlucky. Since the Soul Catcher failed, Ling Xiao was once again sent flying by the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's shocking force. He felt that a few of his ribs were broken. It was excruciating. Chapter 1465. Good fellow, I don't believe that I can't tame you today. You've grown. Quite capable. Ling Xiao touched his aching chest. His ribs were healing on their own. He didn't need to worry about that. He had to keep an eye on the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. Although it was just a beast, its fighting skills were puzzling. It was as if it had undergone special training. Could it be that this beast already has a master? Ling Xiao suddenly thought of the overlord of the primitive forest. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf had come from that direction. Could it be that they were together? Trash! You can't even take care of a puny human after half a day. What's the use of having you? At this moment, a roar came from the depths of the forest. At the same time, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf prostrated itself on the ground and let out a cry of fear. What's going on? Ling Xiao was simply dumbfounded. How did the primordial ferocious beast that was still flaunting its prowess become so weak now? At this moment, a huge hand reached out from the forest and slapped towards the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. It wanted to kill the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. Senior, please have mercy. Ling Xiao hurriedly shouted. The sky-covering hand stopped in midair, forming a huge shadow on the ground. Human, you want to plead for it? Don't forget that it wanted to kill you. A dignified voice asked. Junior just thinks that it has done its duty. Don't you think it's a pity to kill it? After all, it's a purebred, immemorial Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. Ling Xiao just didn't want the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf to die. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get it. He would let it live first. Everything else could wait. You're right. But if you don't want it to die, give me the immemorial Golden Crow and immemorial Heavenly Demon's fighting spirit. The voice said domineeringly. Ling Xiao frowned. This overlord in the depths of the forest knew that he had the immemorial Heavenly Demon and immemorial Golden Crow. It seemed that he wasn't simple. It seemed like there was no other choice. They could only take it one step at a time. In any case, the giant hand that blotted out the sky could slap him to death with a single slap. There was no way he could escape. So why not just go over and check out the situation first? Senior, The primordial golden crow and the primordial heavenly demon are now causing trouble in my body. I can't wait for them to get out of my body. Since Senior can help me, that's great." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Where is Senior? Junior will go over right now. Silver Moon, bring him here." The enormous hand that covered the sky finally retracted. Then a dignified voice sounded. The Silver Moon greedy wolf growled before looking at Ling Xiao with gratitude in its clear eyes. "You don't have to thank me. Anyway, I originally planned to capture you and take you back as a pet. If you die, I can't do anything." Ling Xiao shrugged. The Silver Moon greedy wolf looked at him deeply, then turned around and walked in the direction of the enormous hand. Ling Xiao followed, closely behind. He could feel that the terrifying pressure was getting stronger. About a quarter of an hour later, Ling Xiao saw a person. This person was extremely ugly. The most terrifying thing was that her hair was actually a jumping poisonous snake. Upon closer inspection, her clothes were actually made of terrifying poisonous scorpions. The place she was sitting on was also a bed piled up by insects. What the hell was this person? Ling Xiao sucked in a cold breath. He had seen ugly people before, including the sixth malefic star, but he had never seen such a terrifying and disgusting person. It was hard to tell the woman's age, but judging from her face, she should be in her 40s or 50s. Judging from her bone structure, however, she seemed to have lived for tens of thousands of years. Her lips curled into a cold smile as she looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. The Silver Moon greedy wolf had already crouched down, trembling all over as if it was afraid of something. "What a piece of trash! What's the point of raising you for so many years?" The woman looked at the Silver Moon greedy wolf coldly. With just a glance, the Silver Moon greedy wolf was sent flying. It crashed into a tree and bounced back. The Silver Moon greedy wolf's strengths were its attack and speed. Its body was clearly not that tough, so it was quite injured. Ling Xiao could feel the Silver Moon greedy wolf's anger, but it did not dare to resist. This woman was too powerful. If it resisted, it might die. For such a smart, Grotto Heaven realm beast, survival was of course the most important thing. As long as it lived, there would be plenty of opportunities for revenge in the future. "You blame me for killing your master and want revenge, but it's been more than 100 years and you're still so useless. I'll give you a chance. Do you dare to attack me?" The woman looked at the Silver Moon greedy wolf with disdain and indifference. Ling Xiao was shocked. The Silver Moon greedy wolf that had embarrassed him earlier was humiliated by this woman and did not even dare to resist. Who was this woman? Was she the overlord of this primitive forest that the experts outside were talking about? Ling Xiao did not know. He did not even dare to use his soul power to check. His intuition told him that it would be useless and might even harm him. The woman's gaze finally moved from the Silver Moon greedy wolf back to Ling Xiao. After a disdainful laugh, she said, "Do you still think you can leave here alive?" "Senior must be joking. No one likes to die. If Senior can let me live, I'll give you the immemorial divine demon and immemorial golden crow," Ling Xiao said with a smile. Although he was displeased with what he said, he was sincere. If he could leave alive, so what if he lost the immemorial divine demon and immemorial golden crow? He still had the powerful immortal sword intent. It was still a big gain. Haha, I'm not joking. No one who has come to my place has ever left alive. Even if I agree, my little friends won't agree. She smiled. The snakes, insects, rats, and ants around her all looked at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao clearly sensed that these guys had bad intentions. "Senior, I really didn't mean to offend you. I was chased to the depths of the forest and disturbed Senior's cultivation. I hope you can forgive me." Ling Xiao's heart sank. The woman in front of him definitely did not want him to leave so easily. However, he still did not know what she wanted. If she just wanted to kill him, she would not have asked him to come here. "Did you cause such a big commotion?" Finally, the woman asked the key question. Ling Xiao's heart could not help but twitch. If he did not answer this question well, he would be in trouble. After a moment, he smiled and said, "Senior, you must be joking. I'm just a fourth Grotto Heaven realm cultivator. How could I cause such a terrifying commotion? That person is the sixth bane of the Black Crow Empire. He's from the Soul race and has the ability to communicate with other worlds." Since the sixth bane was already dead, there was no need to push the blame to a dead person. Chapter 1466. You're dishonest. The woman suddenly said after staring at Ling Xiao for a while. Ling Xiao's expression did not change. He smiled and said, "Senior, you must be joking. How would I dare to lie in front of you? Forget it. I'm not interested in playing word games with you. Now you have two choices. One is to die, and the other is to tell me all your secrets. In this case, I can raise you as a pet. It's impossible for those people outside to kill you," the woman said with a chuckle. She used a very indifferent tone to say something terrifying. Perhaps it was normal for her to kill people and raise a human as a pet. Ling Xiao noticed that there were painful sounds coming from the cave behind the woman. They should be martial artists. He was not sure which race they were from, but they were definitely martial artists. "Haha, what if I don't want to choose either?" Ling Xiao said with a chuckle. The fact that she let him choose meant that she did not want to kill him so quickly. She must be afraid of something. Do all humans like to dream so much? The woman sighed and suddenly swung her hand. Ling Xiao immediately felt something tighten around his neck as if something had wrapped around it. It was actually a snake that looked like a golden thread. It was very thin but very tough. "This is my cute golden thread snake. It has a venom that even a half-step Yin-Yang realm martial artist can't resist. I'll give you time to think, but if you're more than one li away from me, the golden thread snake will bite you to death. Take care of yourself." The woman smiled very proudly and evilly. "Senior, we have no grievances in the past. Why do you have to do this? I've already promised to give you the immemorial divine demon and immemorial golden crow for free. Why do you still want to kill me?" Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile. "Because you're not honest. There's an even bigger secret in your body. Although I don't know what it is for the time being, listen carefully. I have all the time in the world to grind with you. How long can you live? 100 years? 200 years? Haha." The woman laughed disdainfully. "Senior, aren't you afraid that trapping me will bring you trouble?" Ling Xiao suddenly asked. "Trouble? What are you referring to?" The woman asked. "There are 6 powerful Yin-Yang realm warriors outside. Some of them are here to kill me, while others are here to protect me. However, they all seem to care about me. Think about it. What will happen if they know I'm here?" Ling Xiao asked. "Nothing much." The woman chuckled. "This is my kingdom, my world, my Grotto Heaven. If they dare to enter, I can make it so that they won't be able to return." She was obviously very confident. Ling Xiao guessed that this woman's cultivation was at least at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident. After all, the island masters of the 5 Immortals Island were at the 4th level of the Yin-Yang realm. On the other hand, Ancestor Ice Phoenix, Zhou Yun, and Raven Queen were at the 3rd level of the Yin-Yang realm. It was impossible to defeat the author without a cultivation base at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but laugh bitterly. He didn't expect that the enemy could save him sometimes. He had already formulated a plan in his heart. He would use this woman's underestimation of the enemy to lure those experts over. Then he would take the opportunity to slip away. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any chance, unless the Moon Maiden came. However, even the Moon Maiden might not be this fellow's match. He couldn't let the Moon Maiden take the risk. "Senior, you're really confident. Looks like I can only think about it carefully." Ling Xiao planned to calm her down first before waiting for an opportunity to take action. He believed that those fellows outside were frantically searching for him in the forest. "You're very smart. I hope you won't be stupid. Go. You can still move freely within a 1-kilometer radius. Don't blame me for not giving you time to think." The woman waved her hand, indicating for Ling Xiao to leave. Senior, we're considered acquaintances now, right? I still don't know your identity. Ling Xiao suddenly asked, Do you want to know? There's no harm in telling you. The woman suddenly became serious, as if she was reminiscing about the past. Tens of thousands of years ago, the true Devil Empire rose. The true Devil Emperor swept across the mystic world and shook the world. This king was his subordinate, the 100 Insects Demon King. 100 Insects Demon King. Ling Xiao's heart suddenly twitched. He thought to himself, I really have to go against the true Devil Empire. The Plague Demon King, the Evil Beast Demon King, and the Lightning Demon King all died because of him. They were either killed by him or by the Moon Maiden. As for the Yin Yang Demon King, he was the imperial advisor of the Divine Phoenix Empire. He wanted to use the Divine Phoenix Empire to restore his power and build a new true Devil Empire. In the end, he and the Moon Maiden destroyed his ambition. Now he actually met the 100 Insects Demon King. Moreover, the 100 Insects Demon King was the strongest of the Demon Kings he had encountered so far. This fellow probably recovered early. Coupled with the fact that she had been recuperating in this primitive forest, few people would come to disturb her. That was why she had recovered so well. It was rumored that the 100 Insects Demon King could control snakes, insects, rats, and ants. No wonder this fellow said that this was her territory. She probably controlled all the insects within a 1-kilometer radius. Within this range, no matter what Ling Xiao did or said, he would not be able to escape her surveillance. This was too convenient. So Senior is actually the 100 Insects Demon King of the true Devil Empire. No wonder you are so powerful. This Junior has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Ling Xiao said respectfully, Although you say that, you must be cursing me in your heart. It doesn't matter. I said that I would give you time to consider, so I won't go back on my words. You may leave. The woman waved her hand. Ling Xiao nodded, then turned and left. A radius of 1 mile was seriously too small for a martial artist. However, Ling Xiao was not worried. He had an advantage that the 100 Insects Demon King did not know about. The golden thread snake was nothing. It could kill him, but it could not destroy his twin martial souls at the same time, so it was naturally fine. The only thing he was worried about was that once he stepped out of the 1-kilometer radius, the other insects would report it to the 100 Insects Demon King. At that time, he would still not be able to escape. Since that was the case, he might as well go all the way and get rid of the 100 Insects Demon King. Of course he couldn't, but didn't he have so many helpers? The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth raised into a sneer. He walked in the forest for a while, then stepped into an open space, and casually threw out a refining array stone. Concealment array. This was a very simple array, but very useful. As long as you don't move, no aura will be released. No matter what you do, it doesn't matter. At the same time, 3-leaf demonic pupils, soul capture. The moment he entered the concealment array, Ling Xiao's right, I released a terrifying demonic light, which instantly entered the golden thread snake's spirit realm. The majority of beasts had weak soul force, and this golden thread snake was even weaker, so it was easily controlled by him. Chapter 1467. What an idiot, 100 Bugs Demon King. You're indeed much stronger than me, but you're still too inexperienced when it comes to tricks. Perhaps all powerful people are like that, disdaining to learn those tricks. But they don't know that these tricks can save their lives at a critical moment. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a sneer as another him walked out from behind him. Then the golden thread snake slid down his neck and coiled around the neck of the other him. That Ling Xiao walked out and wandered aimlessly in the forest. Of course, it was the twin martial souls. Ling Xiao could be considered to have applied what he had learned. He used all the abilities he had obtained from the 6th malefic star. Ling Xiao began to concentrate on cultivating in the concealment array. The place where the 100 Bugs Demon King resided was so rich in spiritual qi that it could drive anyone crazy. For him, It was simply a holy land for cultivation. At this moment, in the cave where the 100 Bugs Demon King resided, two strange firefly-like creatures were displaying moving images. One of them was a scene of Ling Xiao strolling in the forest. This kid is in the mood to stroll. Silver Moon, go and keep an eye on him. Don't let him play any tricks. If he fails this time, I'll stew you and eat you. The 100 Bugs Demon King looked coldly at Silver Moon and said, "Woo woo." The Silver Moon greedy wolf lowered its head and howled, then turned and ran out of the cave. The 100 Bugs Demon King's eyes were fixed on another moving image. In it, the Raven Queen, Ji Rualong, to be inconsolable, and the others were leading many disciples in this direction. Arrogant and ignorant humans, you dare to intrude into this king's territory. Then this king will let you know what fear is. She sneered, her eyes flickering with a green luster, and the snake hair on her head swayed constantly, just as she was casting her spell. On the other side, the warriors of the Black Crow Empire who had rushed into the forest first suffered a devastating blow. Although they had been attacked by beasts before, as long as they cooperated well, they could always avoid disaster. But this time it was troublesome. Strange snakes, insects, rats, and ants suddenly emerged from the forest and attacked them. These snakes, insects, rats, and ants were obviously under someone's control. Not only did they know battle tactics, but they were also very powerful. In the blink of an eye, nearly half of the Crow Empire's warriors were lost. The Ji family and the Permitha Immortal Island weren't having a good time either. They had both lost dozens of disciples. They had no choice but to leave the forest and report back to the Raven Queen and the others. "Your Majesty, we followed Ling Xiao's aura all the way. At first, the beasts we encountered were all fighting on their own. They were no match for us at all. Later, we encountered a terrifying insect army, which led to heavy losses." The third fiend reported to the Raven Queen. "It's the 100 Insects, Demon King." Ji Rualong let out a sigh and said, "Could it be that this guy wants to protect Ling Xiao? Then what should we do? Retreat just like that?" The Raven Queen gnashed her teeth in anger. She had personally led the team, but they had lost so many warriors. How was she going to face the questions of the ministers when she returned? Her ruling power wasn't completely stable. "Of course we can't retreat. Although the 100 Insects Demon King is powerful, he's at most a 5th level yin-yang realm expert. Although none of us have a chance of winning against him, it might not be the case if we join forces," Ji Rualong suggested. "Ji family patriarch, it's time for you to tell us the truth. Why do you keep holding a grudge against Ling Xiao?" To be inconsolable suddenly asked. She needed to consider whether it was worth making an enemy of the 100 Insects Demon King. "Old witch, what do you mean by that? If you don't want to go in, no one will force you." Ji Rualong snorted coldly. "Haha, still not willing to tell the truth?" To be inconsolable said disdainfully, "Old thing, do you really think we're fools? Is Ling Xiao related to the disappearance of the primordial heavenly demon and the primordial golden crow?" Ji Rualong's expression turned ugly. She had finally seen through him. He remained silent. The rest of the people came to a sudden realization. "Haha, since that's the case, we must find Ling Xiao, even if it's for the primordial golden crow and the primordial heavenly demon." Ancestor Ice Phoenix sneered and said, "Although the 100 Insects Demon King is powerful, it's worth it to fight for these two things." "Agreed." Zhou Yin also nodded and said, "But how are we going to split the items?" Ji Rualong frowned and asked, "Let's rely on our own abilities. It'll belong to whoever gets it. But the premise is that we have to work together to kill the 100 Insects Demon King. Otherwise, if anyone wants to keep the treasures for himself, the others can work together to kill him." To be inconsolable said, "Good." Ji Rualong's eyes lit up. This was the deity island of the sacred dynasty, and he was most familiar with it. This agreement was actually the most beneficial to him. The others also nodded and expressed their agreement. This was because they had no other choice. After all, the primordial heavenly demon, the primordial golden crow, and Ji Chang's immortal sword and tent were only 3 treasures. It was impossible to divide them equally. Since it's decided, let's set off together. We'll walk at the front. The other disciples will be responsible for cleaning up the insects. Ji Ruolong said. Everyone agreed. And then the 6 Yin-Yang realm experts stepped into the 100 Insects Demon King's forbidden area. The other martial artists followed closely behind. They're here. Ling Xiao, who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes and revealed a joyful expression. His Gemini martial souls could also use the Tai Chi eye outside, so he knew the situation within a 1-mile radius like the back of his hand. The 6 Yin-Yang realm experts had already entered this area. At this moment, the 100 Insects Demon King was preparing to deal with the enemy with all his strength. He only sent the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf to guard Ling Xiao. This was an opportunity. After cultivating for about 2 hours, Ling Xiao had integrated close to 1/10 of the primordial golden crow's battle intent. This also caused his cultivation to rise to the peak of the 4th Grotto Heaven realm. He was only 1 step away from breaking through. In fact, Ling Xiao could break through at any time because he had accumulated enough energy. The reason why he did not choose to break through was because his cultivation had risen too quickly recently, and he felt that it was a little unstable. Therefore, he planned to maintain his cultivation at the peak of the 4th Grotto Heaven realm for a period of time and wait for his body and other aspects to become familiar with this state before breaking through. In that case, he would not have to worry about the side effects in the future. Of course, his cultivation did not break through, but the 9 changes of the Crimson Sun had broken through to the next stage due to the powerful battle intent produced by the primordial golden crow. True Yang change. Since then, the power of the divine radiant sword had risen sharply. It was not an exaggeration to say that if Ling Xiao had broken through to the true Yang change, he would not have needed to expose his tyrant martial soul to defeat the 6th malefic star. The primordial ferocious beast's battle intent is indeed powerful. I've only integrated 1/10 of it, and I've already made such great progress. If I completely integrate the 2, how powerful will it be? Ling Xiao was looking forward to it. Chapter 1468. Ling Xiao had benefited greatly from the primordial golden crow's powerful fighting spirit, although he wanted to continue cultivating. He had to prepare to escape. The 6 Yin-Yang realm experts had arrived, and the battle could erupt at any moment. Before he left, he had to get the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. It was a gift for his beloved woman. The Gemini martial souls started moving towards where Ling Xiao was hiding. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf followed behind and stared at him. However, it was obvious that its eyes were filled with resentment and displeasure. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf, an immemorial ferocious beast, was being bullied by a monster from the Sea tribe. It had suffered enough. It really wanted to let Ling Xiao go and piss him off. Unfortunately, it didn't dare. It was afraid of the monster's strength. It was really helpless for an immemorial ferocious beast to end up like this. If its master treated it better, it would be fine even as a pet. In the immemorial era, its ancestors had been the pets of powerful humans like the human monarch. It wasn't a humiliation, but a kind of honor because its master treated its pet like a friend. However, what about it now? It wasn't even comparable to a bug. As it was thinking, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf suddenly felt that something was wrong. It could feel that it had stepped into something like a restriction. It should be a formation. There were actually 2 Ling Xiaos in this formation. Don't be afraid. I won't do anything to you. Ling Xiao didn't need to speak. He only used his soul power to talk to the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. Humph. You can't do anything to me. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf let out a disdainful cry and also used its soul power to reply. Is that so? Ling Xiao and his Gemini martial souls opened the tri-leaf demonic eyes at the same time. The power of the soul assimilation technique was used on the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf already had a hard time resisting soul attacks. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation had greatly improved. In addition, he and his Gemini martial souls were suppressing the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf at the same time. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf felt as if it had become a puppet that could do whatever the other person wanted. It tried to break free, but found that it couldn't use the power in its body. Ling Xiao smiled. This was all part of his plan. He wasn't strong enough to face the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf head-on unless he reached the 5th Grotto Heaven realm. Therefore, he chose this kind of sudden method to attack from the front and back. He also set up a formation that strengthened the soul-absorbing ability in the concealment array. Under the multiple attacks, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf simply made a wrong move and the entire board fell apart. Ling Xiao's voice sounded in the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's mind. "What's the matter? Come with me. Although I'll treat you as a pet, I'll treat you like a friend. Leave that guy who's neither human nor ghost." The bewitching voice made the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf almost lose its resistance, and it almost nodded. However, this primordial ferocious beast was a primordial ferocious beast, after all. Even at this level, it was still struggling with all its might. "You're worried that I'm no match for him and won't be able to leave this place, right?" Ling Xiao smiled and waved his hand. An image appeared in the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's mind. It was the scene of the 6 Yin-Yang realm experts entering the forest. The 6 of them are all Yin-Yang realm experts with decent strength. Although they might not be able to defeat the 100 Insects Demon King, it shouldn't be a problem for them to restrain her. "Now is the time for you and me to escape. Don't try to kill her. That monster is too strong. You and I don't have that strength yet. However, I can guarantee you that we'll be able to make trouble for her soon. At that time, you'll have to pay her back for all the grievances you've suffered at her hands." Under Ling Xiao's enticement, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's hatred for the 100 Insects Demon King was completely aroused. That's right, there wasn't a moment when it didn't want to kill that monster. Perhaps it was because Ling Xiao had saved its life before, but it actually felt a trace of intimacy with Ling Xiao. Perhaps this was the key reason why the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was so easily tempted by Ling Xiao's words. Of course, Ling Xiao had cultivated the primordial spirit remnant scroll, so his soul force was incomparably strong. In addition, his tyrannical martial spirit had a domineering aura and pressure. This was the reason why the soul-sucking ability of the 3-leaf demonic eyes was unleashed to the extreme. Otherwise, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf wouldn't have submitted like this. It should be said that this was a combination of many factors. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf finally lay on Ling Xiao's legs, as if it was enjoying this feeling. "Don't worry, friend. I'll give you to the woman I love the most. You definitely won't be disappointed. Moreover, she's also a woman who has inherited the power of the moon. If you follow her, you might be able to fully awaken your potential and grow into a reincarnation beast, or even stronger." Ling Xiao gently stroked the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's fur, trying his best to show his goodwill. After all, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was a beast that understood human nature. If you treated it well, it would naturally be willing to follow you. If the 100 Insects Demon King hadn't humiliated the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf, this kind of beast known for its loyalty wouldn't have been so easily tamed by Ling Xiao. The Human King once had a Silver Moon Greedy Wolf as a mount. Later on, the Human King disappeared from the mystic world, and that Silver Moon Greedy Wolf never betrayed its master. This matter was recorded in the ancient texts of the sacred dynasty, so it shouldn't be fake. After recalling his Gemini martial souls, Ling Xiao stepped out of the concealment array and looked in the direction of the 100 Insects Demon King. The battle had already begun. The battle between the 6 Yin-Yang realm experts and the 100 Insects Demon King was truly world-shaking. It was far more intense than the battle between Ling Xiao and the 6 Fiend. So much so that the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was trembling in fear. "Don't be afraid. He doesn't have the time to deal with us. Let's go." Ling Xiao stepped on the silver moon greedy wolf's back and smiled. The silver moon greedy wolf growled, and with a flicker of moonlight, it rushed forward. About 2 hours later, Ling Xiao and the silver moon greedy wolf had already left the sacred dynasty's immortal island and arrived at the stormy ocean. He took out the airship and had the silver moon greedy wolf sit on it as they advanced towards the divine Phoenix Empire. But in the next moment, Ling Xiao's expression suddenly became tense. A black light suddenly arrived from the horizon and heavily landed on the airship. Escape? Do you think you can escape? A cold voice came from that person's mouth. Her cold eyes were filled with power and anger. The silver moon greedy wolf was probably used to this person's fear, and it actually retreated several steps before crouching on the ground. Ling Xiao was also very nervous as he stared at the person in front of him. The 100 Insects Demon King had actually chased after them. Could it be that she had killed all 6 Yin-Yang Realm experts? That was impossible. Even if she was very strong, she couldn't have done that. Doing his best to calm himself down, Ling Xiao quickly regained his composure. Against 6 Yin-Yang Realm experts, the 100 Insects Demon King definitely couldn't have been so relaxed. Even if she had killed those 6 people, she would definitely have been injured, and her injuries wouldn't be light. Chapter 1469. In order to figure out the 100 Insects Demon King's current situation, Ling Xiao opened his Taiji eye, the strange yin-yang symbol flickering with black and white light. A smile finally appeared on his face. "Boy, what are you smiling at?" The 100 Insects Demon King coldly asked. "100 Insects Demon King, you're already heavily injured, yet you still dare to chase after me? Are you here to die?" Ling Xiao smiled. The 100 Insects Demon King was alarmed. She had long felt that this boy's left eye was strange, giving her a strange sense of pressure. She hadn't expected it to be able to see through her injuries. Indeed, none of them had been able to gain the upper hand in their battle against the 6 Yin-Yang Realm experts. Of the 6 Yin-Yang Realm experts, the Raven Queen and the Ice Phoenix Ancestor were both heavily injured, while the other 4 were also somewhat injured. Other than these 6 people, there were less than 100 warriors left after being killed by her, and she had paid a terrible price. She had underestimated the combined strength of the 6. After being heavily injured, both sides seemed to realize that they had been played by Ling Xiao. Thus, they chose to stop the battle. After stopping the battle, the 100 Insects Demon King used insects to create a fake substitute in the forest to confuse the 6 while she chased after Ling Xiao. After all, as long as she obtained the immemorial Sky Demon and immemorial Golden Crow from Ling Xiao, she would have no problem recovering from her current injuries. Humph, foolish human boy, so what if this king is injured? Killing you will still be as easy as crushing an ant. The cold and emotionless voice came out of the 100 Insects Demon King's mouth, revealing a strong evil aura and killing intent. Then, the snake hair on the 100 Insects Demon King's head shot out so fast that it left behind only an afterimage. Ordinary martial artists simply couldn't see what was going on. Of course, Ling Xiao was no ordinary martial artist. When he opened his Taiji eye, his 5 senses were raised to their limits. Although his opponent was too strong, and he couldn't completely grasp her moves, he could still predict them in advance. At that moment, Ling Xiao almost reflexively moved to the side. Although it was only a few meters, he managed to avoid the 100 Insects Demon King's killing move. Crack! The deck of the airship was bitten by a snake hair, and then green smoke came out, melting a large area in an instant. It was obvious that it was highly toxic. How dangerous! That guy was right. Even though he was severely injured, he could still unleash the strength of an 8th or even 9th paradise. I'm still no match for him. Ling Xiao thought to himself. However, he didn't intend to borrow the power of the Butterfly Lady or the Yuan Venerate, as both of them would be exhausted after this battle. The Butterfly Girl would be very hungry. As for what side effects there would be, it was still unknown. However, if a Yuan venerate made a move, his soul power would definitely be weakened and his soul would become even weaker. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would absolutely not rashly ask them to help. Fortunately, he wasn't completely powerless right now. If the other party was a yin-yang realm martial artist and wasn't injured, he would definitely choose to flee. But now, no matter how strong the other party was, he was not as agile as before due to his heavy injuries. Furthermore, the longer the battle dragged on, the more this would happen. As long as Ling Xiao chose to stall for time, he might still be able to defeat the other party. Kid, your reaction is pretty fast. That eye of yours isn't ordinary. The 100 Insects Demon King grinned sinisterly. Originally, I could have spared your life as long as you had handed over the treasures on your body. Now, I will extract everything from your body one by one until you tell me everything in excruciating pain. She was furious to the extreme. Being played by a kid like Ling Xiao and getting injured all over made her lose face. She had never imagined that the 6 yin-yang realm martialists would really join forces to deal with her. After all, there was no doubt that both sides would suffer in that battle. There was only one reason for those people to do this, and that was that Ling Xiao was still hiding some huge secret. She thought about the terrifying aura she had sensed earlier. It must have been released by Ling Xiao. Although the soul race could communicate with the other world, they could not release such a terrifying, domineering aura. You should have done such a thing from the beginning. But you were too conceited. You thought you could easily defeat the enemy. You were too greedy, vainly trying to steal all the secrets on my body. So you weren't willing to kill me. Whether it's conceit or greed, it won't end well. Ling Xiao smiled and shook his head. Today, you chased me all the way here because of your greed and arrogance. Therefore, you will pay a heavy price for it. Did you really think I couldn't guess that you could chase me here? Did I not make any arrangements? In the end, this battle will still end with your defeat. You might even lose your life. Right? There's something I haven't told you yet. I killed your companions, the Plague Demon King, the Evil Beast Demon King, and the Lightning Demon King. As for the Yin-Yang Demon King, he was sent to the bottom of the storm ocean by my woman. He still doesn't dare to show his face. As Ling Xiao spoke, the 3-leaf demon pupil in his right eye had already opened, releasing a strange light. Although the soul catcher might not be able to harm or control the 100 Insects Demon King, it could definitely create a certain amount of deterrence and pressure. If he wanted to completely defeat his opponent, he had to first break down their mentality. Ling Xiao had to do this, because he was facing an opponent who was much stronger than him and could not be underestimated. The 100 Insects Demon King was indeed affected. She was beginning to be unable to focus on killing Ling Xiao. Her eyes looked around wildly as if searching for some kind of danger. After searching for a long time, she found nothing. She looked angrily at Ling Xiao. Brat, you dare to play with me? If you think I'm playing with you, then so be it. I'm standing right here. Why haven't you made your move yet? Ling Xiao smiled contemptuously, the strange light in his right eye becoming even brighter. Anyone would have a weak point in their heart. They would also have a weak point in their heart. The 100 Insects Demon King's weakness was that she had been seriously injured due to underestimating her opponent. Thus, she was now very worried that Ling Xiao had set up another trap for her. Did you really kill the Plague Demon King and the others? The 100 Insects Demon King did not attack, instead asking with a frown. The Yin-Yang Demon King is still alive. If you're lucky enough to survive, you can go ask him. I'm sure he'll give you an accurate answer. Ling Xiao said with a smile. I'll survive, but you, brat, will definitely die. The 100 Insects Demon King's face was covered in a sinister smile. The snake hair on her head stood up as she savagely flicked her tongue. Chapter 1470. Although the 100 Insects Demon King said that she wanted to kill Ling Xiao, she was clearly holding back. This was because she had been influenced by Ling Xiao's words and was worried that an expert would suddenly appear. If she didn't hold back, she might lose her life. Venomous snake hair! Once again, the 100 Insects Demon King's snake hair danced as she pounced on Ling Xiao. But this time, several snakes attacked at the same time, completely sealing off Ling Xiao's retreat. Awoo! A wolf howl suddenly rang out, and then a sharp moonlight blade suddenly flew out from behind Ling Xiao, directly colliding with the snake hair. Bang! The two energies met in the air and exploded. The moonlight blade shattered, but the snake hair was also completely repelled. Ling Xiao didn't move and remained unscathed. Bastard! The 100 Insects Demon King angrily glared at the silver moon greedy wolf. This little wolf that had been so obedient to her in the past actually dared to rebel against her. You don't need to be so angry. This is what you deserve. It was clearly so loyal to you, but what did you do to it? Not only did you bully and humiliate it, you even wanted to kill it. Have you ever thought about how it feels? Ling Xiao indifferently asked. Nonsense, it's just a bastard. What can it feel? This king is already being merciful by not killing it. The 100 Insects Demon King coldly said. Hearing this, the silver moon greedy wolf let out a low howl. Its eyes were filled with fierce hatred. It had done everything it could, but all it got in return was the word bastard. So not killing it was already being merciful. The 100 Insects Demon King's words wiped away the last bit of guilt in the silver moon greedy wolf's heart. From this moment on, the silver moon greedy wolf was completely on Ling Xiao's side. People like you, are you really used to the feeling of being high and mighty? Truly shameless. Ling Xiao gently stroked the silver moon greedy wolf's neck and looked at the 100 Insects Demon King. The true destruction of the true Devil Empire, according to the records, was due to the sudden disappearance of the true Devil Emperor. But I'm starting to have some doubts. Isn't the real collapse of your empire precisely because you were too arrogant and careless? You don't treat your own people as human beings and crazily kill thousands of races. That's why you met with such a strong resistance, right? He had never seen the true scene of the destruction of the true Devil Empire, but based on the performance of the true Devil Empire's Demon Kings, this should be the truth. The 100 Insects Demon King looked at Ling Xiao, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. This kid was really too scary. He actually guessed correctly. Thinking back to the past, when the true Demon Empire ruled the world, how majestic was that? Even if the true Devil Great Emperor had gone missing, they had only lost one expert. The fortresses of the true Devil Empire in the various parts of the profound world were still very stable, and there were many experts. The reason why it collapsed in such a short period of time was really because of the crazy resistance of the various rebel armies. Now that he thought about it, perhaps it would have been better to choose the method of raising pigs instead of hunting. For the human race to have a young man like you, this king is really worried. You make this king even more unhappy than Ji Chang back then. If I don't kill you, there might be a second human king. The 100 Insects Demon King looked at Ling Xiao, his killing intent completely exposed. The current you, do you have this kind of ability? Ling Xiao chuckled, and a red sun appeared behind him. The scarlet light in the sky shone on this red sun, and the light power in Ling Xiao's body constantly rose. At this moment, he was like a child of light completely enveloped by sunlight. Gradually, the red sun's light became more condensed, turning from red to golden, and became more dazzling. With this move, he directly evolved the tyrant martial soul's blazing sun to the true sun transformation. Because the opponent was very strong, he had to go all out. This is your martial soul. No, this should only be a part of your martial soul. You seem to have become stronger than when you were with me. How in the world did you cultivate? I clearly saw you taking a stroll in the forest. Also, how did you make Silver Moon obediently go with you? It's not that obedient. The 100 Insects Demon King seemed to have a lot of questions. I'll tell you these questions when you're about to die, but for now, let's see how you'll kill the two of us. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He was now a peak 4th Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was a 7th Grotto Heaven realm beast. If the two of them worked together, they would definitely have some chance of victory against the 100 Insects Demon King, who could only display 8th or 9th Grotto Heaven realm strength at most. Moreover, Ling Xiao still had some power that he hadn't used yet. That was, he could break through at any time. In this battle, he would constantly stabilize his current state of cultivation, and when he was satisfied, he could choose to break through. He still had 3 strands of Human King's power that he could use. Although there was a limit to how much Human King's power could increase, it was still no problem for him to advance by 1 realm. This way, his chances of victory would be even greater. You're very proud. The 100 Insects Demon King laughed disdainfully. Do you really think that an ant like you and that animal can pose a threat to me? Ridiculous. Whether or not we can pose a threat, we'll know after the battle. You're no longer the 100 Insects Demon King at his peak. Don't forget that you're already seriously injured. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a confident smile. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf also let out a loud cry, standing in a triangle with Ling Xiao. The two were ready to work together to deal with the 100 Insects Demon King. The attack just now had actually repelled the 100 Insects Demon King's venomous snake hair. This was something that had never happened before. Therefore, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was now full of confidence that it could definitely work together with Ling Xiao to defeat that abominable fellow. Sword come. In Ling Xiao's hand, Ice's fury began to fuse with the divine Sword of Light. A true Yang radiant sword that emitted a dazzling light was born. This sword had condensed the power of the true Yang change, and together with Ice's fury, its power was already very terrifying. However, the 100 Insects Demon King only looked on without any fear. However, the birth of the true Yang radiant sword was just the beginning. Ling Xiao's Taiji I rotated, the sword spirit I opened, and an immortal sword slowly flew out. Fuse again. The immortal sword and the true Yang radiant sword fused again. The terrifying power continued to rise once again. Immortal true Yang radiant sword. The 100 Insects Demon King finally frowned. She could feel the terrifying power of the sword in Ling Xiao's hand. I didn't expect that your cultivation base would be so weak, but you would have such a terrifying move. No wonder you could defeat enemies stronger than you. Ling Xiao smiled and said, You flatter me. Don't be so smug. With this, you're still no match for this king. You'll even die a miserable death. Although the 100 Insects Demon King said this, she did not immediately choose to fight, because she was somewhat wary of the sword in Ling Xiao's hand. Chapter 1471. The 100 Insects Demon King did not attack immediately. That was because the immortal true sunlight sword gave her some pressure. She was worried that there was something strange about the sword. Therefore, she had to figure it out before attacking. The reason why she had been hiding in the primitive jungle of the Sacred Dynasty's Immortal Island to practice was that she was cautious enough. That way, she would not easily lose her life. This time, she was slightly careless and was seriously injured. It was a big lesson for her. You're not the only one with a sword. You're not the only one who can use the power of light. A smug smile appeared on the 100 Insects Demon King's face. Sword of Orochi, light of fireflies, fuse. As the 100 Insects Demon King's voice faded, a strange sword that resembled a long snake appeared in her hand. The blade of the sword was curved like the body of a snake, but it was shining brightly and emitted a strong chill. Then, a large number of fireflies appeared behind her. These fireflies rushed toward the sword of Orochi. Although the light of fireflies was nothing to worry about, the large number of fireflies gathered on the sword still formed a mighty aura. This caused the serpent sword to become even more bizarre and demonic. After all, every firefly was a life. This time, thousands of fireflies died. With so many lives lost, the aura of death would naturally continue to gather. Go, sword of Orochi condensed by death, kill him. The 100 Insects Demon King raised the sword of Orochi with her rough and dark right hand, and then her body moved forward in an instant, thrusting the sword toward Ling Xiao's chest. The sword of Orochi, which had merged with the light of fireflies, not only had a terrible aura of death, but also contained a strong poison. Even if it was just a scratch, the opponent would be in so much pain that he would rather die. Therefore, the 100 Insects Demon King did not have to look for Ling Xiao's vital points. After all, it was not easy to attack the vital points. The sword of Orochi rubbed against the air, and the light of fireflies became more dazzling. This lightning-fast sword had already been captured by Ling Xiao's Taiji Eye. Therefore, he made a prediction in advance. Otherwise, with his speed, it would be impossible for him to block this attack. He was fast. The other party was even faster. In that instant, the immortal true sunlight sword blocked in front of him. At the same time, the scarlet sun feather robe on his body radiated light. Ling Xiao had no choice but to double protect himself. Because the opponent was too strong, he had to do so. Crack! The swords clashed against each other, radiating dazzling sword intent and light. It made an astonishing noise. Ling Xiao's body was knocked back, and he fell out of the airship. Wings of light. In that instant, a pair of almost transparent wings of light appeared on Ling Xiao's back. This slowed down the speed of their retreat, and at the same time prevented them from falling into the sea. A moment later, the great serpent sword turned into nothingness in the brilliant light of the immortal sword of light. The terrifying immortal sword intent and the terrifying true yang transformation were truly terrifying. The 100 Insects Demon King's figure rapidly retreated because the silver moon greedy wolf had launched a sneak attack from the side. Although she dodged the attack this time, her expression didn't look good. Ling Xiao's sword contained an extremely powerful immortal sword intent. Immortal meant indestructible. Therefore, in the clash of sword intents, her great serpent sword was at a disadvantage. I really underestimated you. The 100 Insects Demon King's expression was gloomy. She originally thought that she could kill Ling Xiao in one fell swoop. But now, it seemed that things weren't going so smoothly. If the 6 Yin-Yang realm experts found out that the dummy in the forest was transformed from an insect, they would definitely chase after them. At that time, she probably wouldn't have a chance. The more she thought about it, the more anxious she became. However, she still couldn't think of a way to break Ling Xiao's immortal sword of light. Ling Xiao was actually quite surprised. He found that almost every time he used the immortal sword intent, the immortal sword intent imprisoned in the universe of Tyrant would continuously provide the same sword intent. This made Ling Xiao's immortal sword intent even stronger. At the same time, it also urged Ling Xiao's cultivation to increase. Ling Xiao found that he seemed to be unable to suppress the breakthrough in his cultivation. Water overflowed. His power had reached the limit and was constantly erupting. I might as well let nature take its course. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and finally released the shackles. At that moment, the accumulated power in his body broke through the shackles and entered the early stage of the 5th Grotto Heaven realm, from the peak of the 4th Grotto Heaven realm. The breakthrough this time made Ling Xiao even more confident about this battle. He could feel that the sword in his hand was even more powerful. The breakthrough in his cultivation had at least doubled his strength. The silver moon greedy wolf looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. Originally, it was a little worried that Ling Xiao couldn't block the 100 Insects Demon King's angry attack. But now it seemed that it was a little too worried. The battle prowess that Ling Xiao displayed now was probably not inferior to it. It only needed to take care of itself and help Ling Xiao. Perhaps today it could take revenge and kill the evil Demon King that had been so mean to it. You seem very happy? Do you think that he can defeat this king now that he's stronger? The 100 Insects Demon King noticed the silver moon greedy wolf's expression and said disdainfully, I can clearly tell you that you're delusional. Do you think that you can kill me because I can't use my full strength? Laughable. Don't forget that I'm an Yin Yang realm expert, and a Yin Yang realm expert at that. My experience and skills aren't something that you can deal with. Even if I'm injured, I can still easily kill you. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's originally excited mood suddenly turned cold. At that moment, it began to wonder if it had been too complacent. A 9th Grotto Heaven realm martial artist was completely different from a Yin Yang realm 5th level martial artist who could only use the strength of a 9th Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Vision, combat experience, and various special abilities were not things that the former could compare to. You talk too much. Since you can kill us so easily, why don't you just attack? Why am I still alive and well? Ling Xiao's voice suddenly sounded like a morning bell, instantly waking up the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. That's right, if he really had that ability, he would have killed them long ago. But now the truth was that they were not dead. It had almost fallen for that guy's trick again. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf looked angrily at the 100 Insects Demon King, its eyes glowing red. Ignorant, the 100 Insects Demon King smiled coldly. Do you really not know how I got the title of 100 Insects Demon King? Her laughter suddenly became much louder. A strange jade tablet suddenly appeared in her hand, and then she used her blood to write an inscription on it. My cute baby, your mother is being bullied. Why don't you come out and help? As the 100 Insects Demon King's cold and strange voice sounded, the jade tablet in her hand gave off a strange light. It seemed to open some kind of passage. Chapter 1472. In that pitch-black passage, Ling Xiao felt a terrifying threat. Ka-cha! 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 Roar! Finally, something came out of that pitch-black passage. A scorpion. It was a huge scorpion. Its body was about 10 meters long, and the venomous hook on its huge tail glowed with a green light. The 100 Insects Demon King sat on the scorpion's head like a king, looking very domineering. 2 ants accept this king's wrath. With that, the huge scorpion swung its tail and shot toward Ling Xiao at a terrifying speed. The 100 Insects Demon King seemed to be certain that Ling Xiao was the main culprit. As long as Ling Xiao was killed, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf would lose its will to fight. Ling Xiao did not say anything, but his taiji eye was operating at high speed. In that instant, he retreated rapidly. An eerie green light pierced through the place where he had been standing. It was so fast that even his tai chi eye almost couldn't capture it. The scorpion's speed was even more terrifying than the injured 100 Insects Demon King. Whoosh! After the first attack failed, the next one suddenly arrived. The scorpion's huge eyes were filled with ruthless indifference. Ling Xiao did not choose to continue retreating. Instead, his figure suddenly rose, and the speed of the wings of radiance was raised to the limit. Once again, because of his early judgment, he dodged the opponent's attack. This can't go on. The Silver Moon Greedy Wolf knew that it could not continue watching. It suddenly circled around and chose to attack the scorpion's tail. The scorpion's tail seemed to be its greatest weapon. As long as this thing was broken, the scorpion's fighting strength would be greatly reduced. However, it had only taken 2 or 3 steps when it suddenly jumped back. In front of its eyes, 2 poisonous snakes appeared. A huge king snake with eyes. When it raised its head, it was even bigger than the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. Don't kill it yet. I want to let it see how the person it wants to follow will die. And what a piece of trash he is. The 100 Insects Demon King ordered the 2 king snakes. At the same time, Ling Xiao dodged the scorpion's attack again, but this time it was extremely dangerous. He had a feeling that the scorpion's attacks were getting faster and more precise each time. At this rate, he would be attacked sooner or later. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with the light of wisdom. He was considering how to deal with this poisonous scorpion that had suddenly appeared. However, at this moment, the 100 Insects Demon King, who had been sitting on top of the scorpion's head, revealed a sinister smile. Taking advantage of the moment when Ling Xiao dodged the scorpion's attack, more than a dozen snake hairs suddenly shot out, sealing off Ling Xiao's escape route. She had been waiting for an opportunity. This time, as long as the attack landed on Ling Xiao, then Ling Xiao would definitely die. Each strand of hair was a venomous snake. They spat out their tongues and lunged at Ling Xiao. "We can't hold on any longer." The 100 Insects Demon King revealed a hideous grin. The silver moon greedy wolf's heart sank. In the end, Ling Xiao was still not enough. His cultivation base was too low. Facing an expert like the 100 Insects Demon King, he had no chance at all. But it could not let Ling Xiao die like this. The silver moon on its forehead emitted light, and then a light blade pierced through the air. But before this light blade could fly far, it was whipped down by the king snake's tail. Although the king cobra was also injured because of the whip this time, the king cobra was injured. But the silver moon greedy wolf was unable to save Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's neck was bitten by more than a dozen strands of hair right under its eyes, and he became stiff and motionless, dead. The silver moon greedy wolf fell into a state of intense anger and disappointment. Awoo! With a wild howl, it pounced at the two king snakes and launched a frenzied attack. Angry? Is it worth it for a person you just met? The 100 Insects Demon King sneered disdainfully. The silver moon greedy wolf could not speak, but its anger represented its intentions. To it, Ling Xiao was its hope, its future. It had been tortured by the 100 Insects Demon King for so many years, and it had thought that this time it could see the light again and leave that miserable life forever. But it was the 100 Insects Demon King who cruelly tore its dreams to shreds. It was furious. Previously, it had held back its strength because it was afraid of death. But this time, it erupted with the ferocity and might of an immemorial beast, and the two king snakes were torn to pieces in an instant. Because of this, it was also poisoned, but it was still unwilling to stop. It had been a coward for long enough, and did not want to continue like this. It pounced at the scorpion at the 100 Insects Demon King. Even if it could not avenge Ling Xiao, it wanted to injure the 100 Insects Demon King again. Ignorant fool! Even your master is no match for this king. What can you do? The 100 Insects Demon King coldly laughed and ordered the scorpion to attack the silver moon greedy wolf. But at that moment, the scorpion suddenly waved its huge tail and stabbed it. Poochie! This attack was too sudden, and the 100 Insects Demon King had never dreamed that it would be like this. Its body suffered a terrifying impact, and the huge tail directly pierced through it. Defense was not the 100 Insects Demon King's advantage, and this scorpion was very strong. What's going on? She angrily recalled the scorpion and avoided the silver moon greedy wolf's attack, but blood kept dripping. Ling Xiao! It must be Ling Xiao! She suddenly thought of something. Ling Xiao was not dead. If Ling Xiao had died, he should have released the immemorial golden crow and the immemorial sky demon. But in reality, he did not. I'm sorry, 100 Insects Demon King. Your time has passed. When Ling Xiao's voice sounded, he had already appeared behind the 100 Insects Demon King, and the immortal true sunlight sword in his hand stabbed into the 100 Insects Demon King's body. Everything was just as he had calculated. The Gemini martial souls had helped him a lot. Ah! The 100 Insects Demon King let out a blood-curdling scream. The silver moon greedy wolf was dumbfounded by this scene. It did not understand what was going on at all. Wasn't Ling Xiao dead? How could he suddenly reverse the situation and pierce the 100 Insects Demon King's body? Damn it! Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Even if I become an ugly monster, I won't let you have an easy time. The 100 Insects Demon King was not dead. Her ferocious face was filled with intense hatred. Her body began to twist and change shape. Scorpion fusion! As a hoarse and strange voice came from her mouth, her broken body actually merged with the poisonous scorpion just now. She had a human body, but the lower half of her body was a huge scorpion. This strange form made Ling Xiao frown as he looked at it. As expected, the 100 Insects Demon King is not that easy to kill. What a pity, I missed the best opportunity. Ling Xiao did not continue to attack. Instead, he returned to the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf's side and took out an antidote to feed it. Die! Die! The 100 Insects Demon King's voice was unpleasant to listen to, and now it was even worse. It made one's scalp tingle. Chapter 1473. Bang! Suddenly, the huge tail swung over. Although Ling Xiao blocked it, facing the terrifying power, he was still sent flying. His whole body crashed into the flywheel ship in the sky. He felt as if his arm was about to break. This is going to be troublesome. Ling Xiao's expression was unsightly. The 100 Insects Demon King was actually able to fuse with the insects he raised, and it was clearly stronger than when it fought alone. Although it was still unable to reach the Yin Yang realm, it was at least at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. At this level, Ling Xiao was no match for it. Cough, cough! Ling Xiao coughed twice, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. He slowly stood up, took a deep breath, and coldly looked at the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf that was resisting the 100 Insects Demon King. At this moment, the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf had already been hit several times by the 100 Insects Demon King's huge tail in order to prevent him from being injured. Although it managed to avoid being hit in the vitals, it was still heavily injured. Silver Moon, come back! Ling Xiao waved his hand, and the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf was forcefully pulled back. Brat, if it doesn't die, you will die. If you die, it will still die. The 100 Insects Demon King's eyes were red, like the compound eyes of a fly. It looked a little disgusting. Ling Xiao gave the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf another healing medicine, then looked coldly at the 100 Insects Demon King and said, Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish. Ha 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 ha. You think you still have the strength to fight to the death with this king? How foolish! The 100 Insects Demon King laughed loudly, very pleased with himself. Ling Xiao had only been able to injure him up to this point because he had used some tricks. However, her laughter came to an abrupt end in the next moment. The immortal, true, sunlight, radiant sword disappeared. Then, the divine sword of light returned to its original state. The powerful immortal sword intent disappeared. In its place was a terrifying destruction, sword intent. Of course, this was not what the 100 Insects Demon King was afraid of. What the 100 Insects Demon King was afraid of was a terrifying destruction battle intent. This battle intent was blazing and crazy. Even if he only released a little of it, it was enough to make people tremble in fear. Boy, what are you doing? Are you crazy? How dare you directly use the ancient golden crow's fighting spirit? The 100 Insects Demon King's eyesight was naturally not bad. What Ling Xiao was releasing was indeed the fighting spirit of the primordial golden crow. Behind him, a gigantic golden crow hovered in the air. It was even more dazzling than the red sun in the sky. Destruction, hatred, madness. It should be noted that although the ancient gold crow had helped the human emperor fight against the sky devils in the ancient times, it was still an extremely ferocious beast. It was rumored that the crimson sun of the profound world was transformed from the golden crow. If it wanted to, it could destroy everything in the profound world. The ferocity of this primordial golden crow was no less than that of Tao Tai. Are you crazy? That's right, I am indeed crazy. Against an expert like you. This is the only way I can protect myself and the Silver Moon Greedy Wolf. In truth, Ling Xiao was not crazy. He naturally had his reasons for doing so, because he had discovered a problem in the previous battle. It was very difficult for him to mobilize the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit during normal cultivation. Moreover, it was very slow to do so. However, it was different in battle. Releasing the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit and fusing it into his sword intent was very dangerous. There was even a chance that the fighting spirit would backfire on him. However, it was definitely worth taking a risk. This could greatly increase the speed of fusing with the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit. To him, the significance was far greater than just sitting there and cultivating. He was a very calm person, but sometimes he liked to take risks. The key was whether it was worth it or not. The silver moon greedy wolf looked at Ling Xiao with astonishment and gratitude in its eyes. It knew very well that if Ling Xiao wanted to escape, he could have done so just now. The reason he did not escape was to save it. Such a person would definitely choose a good woman. This time, it might have chosen the right master. Tears actually dripped from the wolf's eyes. It stood up and wanted to fight side by side with Ling Xiao. Silver Moon, don't get involved in the following battle. This power is just as she said. Even I can't control it. If I lose control, just run. Ling Xiao meant what he said. Although releasing a large amount of the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit during battle could allow him to absorb that power faster. However, at the same time, he could be swallowed by that power. The primordial golden crow's fighting spirit had its own will. When Ling Xiao released the fighting spirit, he could feel that the fighting spirit wanted to swallow his soul and take over his body. Of course, Ling Xiao had already predicted all of this. Therefore, he did not panic. Instead, he dealt with it carefully. Terrifying flames surrounded Ling Xiao's body. The entire sky seemed to be completely swallowed by this red light. The flying beasts in the sky all avoided this place. A ship sailed past on the surface of the sea with some martial artists on board. They looked at the sky in horror. Seeing the scene, all of them were dumbfounded. The primordial golden crow's fighting spirit was mixed with strong resentment and hatred. This was hatred towards Ji Chong, because Ji Chong used the immortal sword intent to seal it. If Ling Xiao wanted to completely control the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit, he had to first completely defeat this resentment and hatred. The reason why he chose the primordial golden crow and not the primordial celestial demon was because the primordial golden crow had worked together with a human king. Ling Xiao had the power of a human king in his body, which could suppress this fighting spirit to a greater extent. This kid is simply a madman. I'd better not get too close to him for the time being. After he burns himself from playing with fire, I'll go and seize the primordial golden crow. The 100 insects demon king retreated and then stood there motionless. She did not want to attack rashly because she was worried that the primordial golden crow would shift its hatred to her. Not only would that be equivalent to helping Ling Xiao, but it would also put her in trouble. She was not that stupid. Kid, you're really good at playing with fire. But perhaps it was too early for her to be happy. A treacherous smile flashed across the corners of Ling Xiao's eyes. Then the wings of light on his back flickered, and his figure instantly arrived beside the 100 insects demon king. With the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit, the wings of light were frighteningly fast and could already catch up with the 100 insects demon king. Kill! Ling Xiao stabbed out with the sword of light destruction in his hand. Since his opponent did not attack, he would force her to attack. In this way, he could use the power of the 100 insects demon king to suppress the primordial golden crow's fighting spirit, making it easier to control it. The reason why he did not use the immortal sword was that the primordial golden crow's hatred for the immortal sword intent was too strong. There was no way to divert it. Damn kid! The 100 insects demon king was furious, but she had no choice but to attack. This was because Ling Xiao's speed was not inferior to hers. If she did not attack, she would be at the mercy of others. How could she tolerate that? Chapter 1474. The 100 Insects Demon King didn't want to attack Ling Xiao right now, but Ling Xiao's sudden attack forced her to take the offensive. The huge scorpion tail turned into a gust of wind and whizzed toward Ling Xiao. Under the sunlight, the green venom flickered with a faint glow. In just an instant, the huge scorpion tail arrived in front of Ling Xiao. The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth raised into a sneer. In that instant, the terrifying golden crow's fighting spirit was released in large quantities. I'll let you dogs bite each other, while I reap the benefits of the fishermen." With a sneer, rumbling sounds of thunder and fire were heard from his body. Then, flames rolled and radiated in all directions. Terrifying resentment and hatred rushed toward the huge scorpion tail. Of course, this fighting spirit wouldn't let the 100 Insects Demon King kill Ling Xiao, because it also had its eyes on Ling Xiao's body. If it wanted to take over this body, what it needed was a complete body, not a broken one. The terrifying fighting spirit overturned the huge scorpion tail and then poured into the 100 Insects Demon King's spirit realm. The 100 Insects Demon King retreated in alarm. In that instant, she felt her soul being suppressed by that terrifying fighting spirit. It was too terrifying, as expected of an ancient, ferocious beast. That resentment and hatred was enough to overturn her soul. "It's about time. Fuse." Ling Xiao smiled. Although the Golden Crow's fighting spirit had suppressed the 100 Insects Demon King, it was also greatly weakened by the 100 Insects Demon King's soul force. Ling Xiao took the opportunity to release his soul force and the powerful immortal sword intent, and began to suppress the 20% of the Golden Crow's fighting spirit. If he could completely fuse and absorb this Golden Crow's fighting spirit, his strength would probably rise again. Even if his cultivation couldn't rise, his light profound would definitely be greatly improved. Moreover, the powerful will of destruction contained in the Golden Crow's fighting spirit could also be used to increase the might of his destruction sword intent. Perhaps he could even comprehend a new move of the profound meaning of light. Of course, all of this had to wait until he completely suppressed this terrifying battle intent. Otherwise, once he suffered a backlash, he would not be able to think about anything else. At that moment, Ling Xiao's body violently trembled, his face incomparably pale. His entire body was enveloped by the terrifying flames. The 100 Insects Demon King was hiding in the distance. He wanted to attack, but didn't dare to. He was momentarily hesitant. "All right, the stronger you are, the more I like it." The more powerful the Golden Crow fighting spirit was, the more powerful Ling Xiao would be after fusing with it. Therefore, he was very excited. At this moment, his soul realm was filled with turbulent waves as a spiritual domain battle was unfolding. Ling Xiao could even be defeated by the Golden Crow's fighting spirit at any moment, and then his body would be completely occupied and his soul would be completely incinerated. At that time, he would cease to exist. At most, it was just a shell. How could Ling Xiao accept such an outcome? The Tai Chi eye spun wildly. The tri-leaf demon eyes had also been opened. Ling Xiao's current willpower was incomparably firm. No matter how the Golden Crow fighting spirit attacked his soul realm, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, without any effect. That terrifying Golden Crow fighting spirit seemed to be somewhat annoyed. Since it couldn't control Ling Xiao, it wanted to completely destroy Ling Xiao's body. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt as if his body had been thrown into a scalding fire. That kind of pain made him want to die. Of course, this was also the result that the Golden Crow fighting spirit wanted the most. A mere beast actually wants to make me bow my head? Dream on. Boom! The red sun behind Ling Xiao suddenly became huge, and its light became even more dazzling. A large amount of the Golden Crow's flames were swallowed and absorbed by the red sun, transforming into Ling Xiao's own strength. "Playing with fire in front of me. You've really picked the wrong target." Ling Xiao was now most proficient in the light and shadow profound meaning. The power of light represented the extreme temperature, which was even more terrifying than flames. Completely destroy it. Golden Crow fighting spirit. The crazy immortal sword intent spilled out and began to destroy the consciousness of the Golden Crow fighting spirit. Ling Xiao didn't need this fighting spirit to have its own consciousness. What he wanted was an obedient fighting spirit that could completely integrate into his own fighting spirit. Boom! After a loud sound, Ling Xiao's body was charred black, and he seemed to be seriously injured. However, there was an excited smile on his face. 20% of the Golden Crow fighting spirit had been completely transformed into his own strength. His cultivation had risen to the peak of the 5th Grotto Heaven realm, and he was actually close to another breakthrough. At the same time, his sword intent had also reached the peak of the Greater Mastery, and was only one step away from perfection. Not only that, but the 10th light profound meaning, the divine sword of light, had also made another breakthrough due to the transformation of the Golden Crow fighting spirit. The true sun transformation had evolved to the pure sun transformation. The 9 changes of the Crimson Sun had been upgraded to the 5th change. Not only that, Ling Xiao seemed to have comprehended a move of the 11th light, profound meaning in a hazy state. The name of this move was the Immemorial Golden Crow. Although this was only a hazy concept that had not yet fully matured, it was still a vague concept. However, for Ling Xiao, it was already a huge improvement. There were a total of 15 profound meanings in the light and shadow profound meaning. Currently, he was a little stagnant after comprehending the 10th profound meaning. This time, there was finally a change. This was really lucky for him. It should be noted that he had only absorbed 30% of the immemorial Golden Crow fighting spirit. Previously, he had absorbed 10%, and now he had absorbed 20%. It was really hard to imagine how far his light profound meaning would advance if he completely integrated the Golden Crow fighting spirit. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't dare to release so much of the Golden Crow fighting spirit at once, because if he did, he was afraid that he would really be devoured by the Golden Crow fighting spirit and then become a body controlled by the Golden Crow fighting spirit. Behind Ling Xiao, the golden immemorial Golden Crow became clearer. The 100 Insects Demon King looked at all this vigilantly, and her face didn't look good. Even though the Golden Crow's battle intent had already subsided, Ling Xiao gave her the feeling that he had become much more powerful. Was this kid still human? Do you still want to fight? Ling Xiao looked at the 100 Insects Demon King. At this time, facing the 100 Insects Demon King, he didn't show the slightest fear. He even looked forward to it, because the fight between him and the 100 Insects Demon King could help him continue to fuse the Golden Crow fighting spirit. This was definitely a rare opportunity for him. If he missed it, it would be gone. The 100 Insects Demon King's eyes revealed a greedy light. The immemorial Golden Crow's fighting spirit was really too powerful. If she had it, she would be able to recover her cultivation faster and reach the strongest level in the past. At that time, she would regain the glory of the true demon's empire. Thinking of this, she looked at Ling Xiao with more killing intent. If you want to kill me, then come. I'll give you a chance. Ling Xiao's voice was like a demon tempting an ignorant little girl. However, the 100 Insects Demon King definitely wouldn't run away. Because of her greed, even if she knew that Ling Xiao was deliberately tempting her to attack, she still wanted to attack. Chapter 1475. Isn't it easy to die? The 100 Insects Demon King brandished his massive scorpion tail, but he did not choose to attack directly. Instead, he shot out one poisonous light after another. Each of them was very fast and came from very tricky angles. You're afraid. Ling Xiao gave the 100 Insects Demon King a contemptuous glance. If his opponent was not afraid, he would not have chosen to attack from such a distance. He raised his hand slightly. The sword of annihilation in his hand made a strange gesture. Third profound meaning of light. Golden Crow ascending the sun. This was a profound meaning move that Ling Xiao had comprehended long ago. However, he had rarely used it recently because the power of this move was somewhat lacking. But today he used it because this move had been reborn. The fighting intent of the immemorial Golden Crow was too compatible with the concept of this move. Coupled with the sword of annihilation in his hand, even Ling Xiao himself did not know how powerful it would be. The sword slowly swung in his hand. For a moment, The clouds of fire in the sky roiled and space trembled. On the surface of the sea, waves rolled and gales rose. The ship that had been watching from below had already hurriedly sailed into the distance. This battle was too terrifying. The entire sky seemed to have turned into a sea of fire. The sky is burning. The martial artists on the ship cried out in alarm. Just what level is that martial artist at? How could he unleash such a terrifying attack? He's at least a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Stop watching and run for your life. When immortals fight, mortals suffer. There's no point in watching such a show. Be careful not to lose your little life in the end. The martial artists on the ship urged the boatmen to speed up and sail into the distance amidst the gales. However, the roiling red clouds in the sky were still frightening. Ling Xiao lightly swung the sword in his hand, and the clouds of fire in the sky roiled. 100 Insects, Demon King. Let's see who will die today. Golden Crow ascending the sun. A cold voice came from Ling Xiao's mouth. The sword of annihilation in his hand slashed down. The clouds of fire in the sky condensed into a massive golden crow, which then pounced at the 100 Insects Demon King with a world-destroying momentum. Frenzied fighting intent. Tyrannical fighting intent. The fighting spirit of hatred. This sword could be said to be Ling Xiao's strongest sword move without fully exposing his tyrannical martial spirit. What a boring trick. The 100 Insects Demon King coldly snorted. However, although he said that his body obediently retreated into the distance. At the same time, she wrote an inscription on the jade tablet in her hand with her blood. Secret technique, 100 Worm Cave. As she roared, a huge black hole appeared in the sky. Then, countless insects flew out from inside. Flies, moths, mosquitoes, dragonflies, and so on. Densely packed, they blotted out the sky and covered the sun. In front of the 100 Bugs Demon King, they formed layers upon layers of tough defenses. Boom! The flames finally rushed over. Then, the air was filled with a burnt smell. Countless insects were burned to ashes in an instant, and all kinds of smells filled the air. But this was not the end. The terrifying flames continued to attack, and countless insects continued to die, one after the other. The 100 Bugs Demon King, who was hiding in the distance, looked at this scene in horror. She wondered if she would be instantly burnt to a crisp if she was the one who was hit by this attack. Ling Xiao's strength was really stronger than before. What she did not realize was that her battle with Ling Xiao had lasted for nearly an hour. The injuries in her body had seriously affected her performance. Even if she merged with the scorpion, her injuries could not be healed. Now, not only was she unable to display more strength, but she was also getting weaker. The 8th Grotto Heaven Realm. This is the strength you can display now. Ling Xiao saw through the mystery with his words. His Tai Chi I had already seen through the 100 Bugs Demon King. So what? You're only at the 5th Grotto Heaven Realm. What can you do to me? The 100 Bugs Demon King sneered. She did not intend to wait, because the longer she delayed, the lower her advantage would be. If this continued, the one who would be killed in the end would not be Ling Xiao, but her. A frenzied battle intent burst out from her body. This time, she intended to go all out. She would kill Ling Xiao even if she was injured. As long as Ling Xiao was dead, the battle intent of the immemorial Golden Crow would be hers. Retreat. Ling Xiao withdrew his sword and suddenly retreated. His strongest attack had failed to kill the 100 Bugs Demon King. But this did not discourage him in the slightest. The expression on his face was still as calm as ever. It was as if everything was still under his control. His body retreated to the flywheel ship, standing next to the silver moon greedy wolf. The 100 Bugs Demon King did not suspect anything. On the contrary, she felt that since Ling Xiao's strongest attack had failed to injure her, her chances of victory should still be very high. Her body approached Ling Xiao at an extremely fast speed, and her huge scorpion tail and snake hair attacked at the same time. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." Myriad Beasts Blood Refining Formation Release. Ling Xiao had long expected that someone would chase after him. He did not know whether this person was the 100 Bugs Demon King, but he was certain that she was an expert. Therefore, on the flywheel ship, he used the beast souls that had died in the primitive jungle to arrange a powerful Myriad Beasts Blood Refining Formation. In order to let the formation display its power to the most critical moment, he had not activated it. Damn it! How do you know the Myriad Beasts Blood Refining Formation of the vicious Beast Demon King? At that moment, the 100 Bugs Demon King revealed an extremely frightened expression. Countless beast souls turned into specters that tightly bound her, binding her to the flywheel ship. No! The 100 Bugs Demon King let out an incredulous roar. At this moment, she was finally frightened. However, Ling Xiao would not give her the chance to break free from the formation, and once again swung the sword of annihilation. Die! At a distance of only 4 or 5 meters, the sword of annihilation almost instantly reached the 100 Bugs Demon King's body. Between heaven and earth, fiery clouds rolled and the golden crow cried, "Hateful!" At that moment, the 100 Bugs Demon King realized that she had miscalculated. Ling Xiao did not only possess strength on the surface. This guy had many miraculous pills that he could take when injured or poisoned. This way, her poison would lose its effect. This guy also knew many formations, especially the powerful Myriad Beasts Blood Refining Formation. If a formation was set up in advance, its power would be terrifying. Many formation masters were able to kill people above their level because their formations were sufficiently terrifying. Yin-yang reversal. Lend me the power of the Yellow Springs and offer me 100 years of my life. Facing death, the 100 Bugs Demon King used a special technique that only Yin-yang realm martial artists could use. Yin-yang reversal. It was rumored that once a martial artist cultivated to the Yin-yang realm, they could communicate with the underworld and make transactions with hell. With each increase in cultivation, there would be more things to trade. Although the 100 Bugs Demon King could only use the strength of an 8th Grotto Heaven realm, her cultivation was truly at the 5th level of the Yin-yang realm. Her transaction this time was to use 100 years of her life in exchange for a moment of strength.